Texas A&M's Greg Hill gained more yards rushing in his first 2 seasons than any player in Southwest Conference history. But his junior year has been delayed until now by an NCAA suspension. That's allowed Rodney Thomas to rise near the top of the nation's rushing leaders. While redshirt freshman Leland McElroy is also running to recognition out of the Aggie backfield. But the best unknown back in the country may be Houston's Lamar Smith. And these 4 breakaway backs take the field today on Raycom. This is the Exxon Southwest Conference Game of the Week. Brought to you by Exxon 93 Supreme Gasoline. For high performance, rely on the Tiger. And brought to you in part by Southwest Airlines. By Nations Bank. By La Quinta Inns. By Ford. By Winn-Dixie. And by Dr. Pepper. A windy afternoon at Kyle Field today on the campus of Texas A&M University in College Station, where the number 14 Aggies play host to the Houston Cougars. And welcome to Aggie Land. Dave Barnett along with Grant Taft. We expect this to be a real showcase game for the running backs for both school. And Coach, what may be already the deepest stable of running backs in the country gets even deeper for Texas A&M with the return of Greg Hill this week.
If you could put an anticipation meter on Greg Hill right now, it would be peaking at the very crest. Greg Hill is ready to play after a 5-game hiatus. He's ready to go.
And for the Cougars, they have to deal with not only Hill, but Thomas and Hill together. That's their Lion backfield. And they have the Cub this year. That's redshirt freshman Leland McElroy, who's averaging better than 6 yards per carry. When Houston has it, though, they go with Lamar Smith, who's worth better than 40% of their total yards this year. He may be doing more for his team than any back in the country.
About 41% of the offense. Last week, I was tremendously impressed with him. He has great hands for receiving the football, but when he gets in the secondary, he has great acceleration. When he gets close to the goal line, he's very tough.
Aggies are big favorites today, but these two have a history of playing closer than expected games. Back in Aggie Land in a moment.
If you could step back far enough, you could see this country as one big machine. Always moving, changing, working, with a pause now and then. Held together by the belts and pulleys of highways and back roads, and running on the desire that each day will be a little better than the last. And if you looked in close at how this machine works, in every turn of every gear, you'd see a Ford F-Series. The best-selling full-size pickup 16 years running. It's the truck more people keep turning to get down to business or get them far from it. And whether your part of the machine is running fence line or running errands, you'll find Ford F-Series pickups are designed and built to do it with no questions asked, which keeps this big machine of ours running that much better. And to think, you thought it was just a truck. Ford F-Series, the #1 selling truck, is built Ford tough.
Finding a credit card you can expect more from is a simple process of elimination. First blow off all the cards with the highest rates. Then the ones that don't offer fixed or variable rate options, worldwide acceptance, and 24-hour customer service. And what about price assurance, satisfaction guaranteed, purchase protection, and extended warranties at no extra charge? So, what's left? Chemical Bank MasterCard. If you have one, use it. If not, call 1-800-342-9900 to apply.
45-year-old Kim Helton, who is celebrating the first win of his Houston Cougar coaching career, and the Southwest Airlines game plan for the Cougars.
The Cougars have to build on their victory last week over the Baylor Bears down in the Astrodome. Lamar's got to carry a big load again this week, and of course, if they're going to win, they've got to find a way to cage the Lion and the Cub.
And R.C. Slocum, in his 5th year at A&M, with the 4th best winning percentage in college football, their game plan.
The Aggies have to do something that they were unable to do last year against Jimmy Klinger, and that was to pressure him. No sacks last year, but I anticipate that there will be some this year, and that should push them in the area to win. They got to utilize this three-man backfield, or the potential for a three-man backfield, effectively, and then carry on the tradition of winning here in Kyle Field.
That's today's Southwest Airlines game plan. We return to College Station with the opening kickoff after these messages.
Imagine the high performance, the advanced engine cleaning in all 3 grades of Exxon gasoline. Rely on Exxon gasoline and turn the tiger loose.
After graduation, I want to be governor of Texas.
Governor of Texas. Governor of Texas. Governor of Texas. Governor of Texas. Governor of Texas. Governor of Colorado. Well, 5 out of 6 isn't bad. At the schools of the Southwest Conference, higher education turns dreams into reality.
No matter what kind of car or truck you're looking for, forget the big city. And head to Hempstead, to Lawrence Marshall, where you'll find our low Marshall discount prices on every 94 Chevy truck. We're the #1 Chevy truck retailer in America for 5 straight years. How'd we do it? By selling for less every day. And we have about 2,000 trucks available. So head out 290 to Hempstead, to Lawrence Marshall. We clobber big city prices.
Really, for the first time all year, we have football weather today. 69 degrees, but it feels quite a bit cooler because of that wind, which is gusting at 15 all the way up to 25 miles per hour out of the north. It may rain. If it does, it'll be later on in the afternoon. Houston wins the toss, defers their decision, and they will kick to the Aggies. Billy Mitchell, number 22, on the left of your screen, and 34, Leland McElroy is on the right, anticipating the kick from Jason Stoff of the Cougars, and already the wind becomes a factor.
The wind will be a factor this afternoon, and the decision whether to take the ball or to kick the ball is a decision made by coaches prior to coming out before the game. Evidently, Houston elected to defer. That gave the Aggies a chance to get the football on the opening kickoff, but the Cougars get the wind out of the deal.
Stoff for McElroy at the 7. And as he turns left, dragged down, and a piling on penalty will be added against the Cougars. His return was out to about the 21-yard line, and then the late hit came from Charles Spencer, and Corey Pullig and the Aggies will have better than expected field position because of the late hit.
2 no-nos on that. Number 1 is you do not hit late. Number 2 is you do not hit with the crown of the helmet, and that is an automatic.
Sophomore quarterback.
Dead ball
from Deer Park.
Personal foul against the kicking team. Sparing.
Corey Pullig at 6'3", 199, 56% through the air this year, 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. And the rest of the Nations Bank Aggie offensive unit, Rodney Thomas, the number 6 rusher in the country, had better than 130 yards per game this year. And the guy who has emerged as their best blocker up front has played a number of positions at A&M, a transfer from Brigham Young, and that's Jason Matthews. So they go from their 36-yard line to the air on first down. And that may have been a tremendous catch by Greg Shorp, the tight end. They will now rule it incomplete. Shorp covered up by Ryan McCoy for the Cougar defense. And they look this way, led by Stephen Dixon, the little 5'9" defensive tackle up front, one of their top tacklers. The leading tackler is the middle linebacker, Ryan McCoy. He leads the entire league, in fact, with 61 stops on the year. And emerging after moving from quarterback to free safety is Donald Douglas. He says he still doesn't have all the nuances down of the position, but it is coming to him. On second down, to give for about 3, perhaps 4 yards is to Rodney Thomas up the middle.
Cougar defense, again, will have to stop some very good running backs, but they did it last week. Coming into this game, they have to be feeling very good about themselves, and if they can carry that momentum into the Aggie game, it gives them a better chance.
Yeah, they went into that one last week really not in their wildest dreams expecting to hold Baylor to 3 points. They won 24-3. They had the next to last rated defense in the country until the Baylor game. And DeLithro Bell was waiting for the swing toss to Leland McElroy, and right off the bat, the Cougar defense looks improved.
DeLithro Bell had the running back man-to-man, and all he did was make his read. He didn't get in a big hurry to get out of there. Stayed on his man and then made a big play. Made everybody look good on the Cougar defense.
James Bennett, with an average near 40 yards per kick, will find the going tough into this win today. Lawrence McPherson is standing at his 26. And, Coach, you were saying earlier today, this wind is about a 20-yard wind. The flag is down on the very low short kick, which is down by James McKeon at the 47.
I think the wind is strong enough that you have to kick it low into the wind. He didn't get a good spiral on it. The wind caught it and dropped it almost straight down, close to the 50-yard line.
Bud Alexander, the referee, with the indication against Houston. That punt traveled just 22. They have it marked at the 47 for Jimmy Klingler, but the officials conferring with the Aggies as you look at the vital stats for Klingler, junior from Stratford High School in Houston, nation's total offense leader last year. The numbers are down this year, but it's because the scheme is so different. They're not running the pure run and shoot from past years. Nations Bank starters for the Cougars. They return to the starting lineup. The nation's leading receiver last year, Sherman Smith, 10 catches on the year, only 1 touchdown. Up front, Darryl Clapp, who had been injured most of the year, returned to the lineup last week, and he gets the start at right guard this week. 300-pounder, a senior from Corpus Christi.
There were 12 men participating on the receiving team. It would be a 15-yard penalty, replay 4th down.
Well, the Aggies punted on what was 4th and 15. Where they've marked the ball, it's still inches shy of the first down, but Bennett will get a chance to get off a better punt than that. Dr. Pepper Roundup, we go right to the matchup of the year, maybe the century, and Florida State with the early advantage on Miami. Number 15, North Carolina likewise, and number 6, Ohio State with early leads.
Dave, that was a very costly penalty for the University of Houston. They had the ball almost at midfield, and now, no matter what happens, they're going to be backed up in their own territory.
And flags again. And the Cougars are celebrating.
Yeah, Houston is celebrating because Texas A&M's right side moved prematurely.
Dead ball, false start, offense, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
Never seen this many flags for a punt, have you? Well, Alexander's crew.
It's the first of the game. Seems to be a lot of anticipation on both teams' part, and they're making some mistakes.
Bennett will again attempt to deal with this wind, and it's again low, but much longer, and McPherson lets it hop. And the Aggies get a big break out of the exchange of flags down at the 16, a 43-yard kick by James Bennett. The Aggie defense rated 6th in the country. Sam Adams is their leading tackler with 37 for a loss and 6 quarterback pressures this year. He is playing like the All-American they think he is. Jason Atkinson leads the linebackers, the Butkus Award candidate. third-generation Aggie. Aaron Glenn played the game of his life a week ago, shutting down Lloyd Hill, the Texas Tech All-American. Cougars from the 17. Lamar Smith went out of the backfield, and Ron Peters takes the little hitch pass up near the 20 before he's hit by the right corner for A&M Ray Mickens.
Sent Smith in motion out of the backfield, moving a high percentage of Houston's offense out of the way, so to speak, using him as a decoy, in fact, and also as a blocker.
One of Peters' favorite plays from last year. He can turn it into 80 quickly on you. This one for just 3, and it's 2nd and 7. Keith Jack is the motion man. Cougars out of the eye to the tailback. Smith bounces outside and has the first down of the game. Hit by Ray Mickens after a pickup of 8 yards.
Play was designed to go inside. It was clogged up inside with the Aggie linebackers, and Smith takes it outside and picks up the first down.
He was fairly busy in this game a year ago. He'll be quite a bit busier if the Cougars have their way today. Last week, caught 8 balls against Baylor. Rushed for 118. 2 weeks ago, rushed for 119 at Michigan. Movement again. Sam Adams bursting into the backfield. He might have been drawn off by Clapp at right guard.
Offensive lineman may have lifted his hand, and if that is the case,
false start, offense.
The defense can move, and Sam is very quick, and when he saw that movement, he took off and got a big 5-yard penalty against the Cougars.
Kim Helton, who sent some shockwaves around this league with the upset last week. Hoping for a repeat performance today. Klingler has it batted down by Adams, who again had the early penetration. Good 6'4", 270-pounder out of Cypress Creek.
Sam Adams has great mobility. He's a strong player as well. And you see he's actually reaching outside in to knock that ball down.
9 tackles at Lubbock, a sack and a tackle for a loss. Lamar Smith tripped up at the line and then continues forward to about the 27, where he's hit by Reggie Graham, the junior inside backer from League City. Bring up 3rd and still around 10 or 11 needed.
Big play for the defense. Important at this point to force Houston out of the long drives that they had last week against Baylor. This 3rd down is critical.
And you can see their trouble in converting 3rd downs this year, although they were much improved a week ago. Flags again down on movement in the line as it is incomplete, intended for Lamar Smith, with coverage by the free safety junior White.
Dave, let me point out something. Offensive teams have a very tough time in this stadium. It's very noisy. The crowd noise level is extremely high, and it's very difficult to call audibles at the line of scrimmage, so you'll get a lot of pre-movement by offensive linemen.
Offside, defense,
a lot of times,
penalty, replay 3rd down.
A lot of times the offense will use hand signals. I've not detected that today with Klingler on his outside people, but you have to come in with a way to communicate to your wide people.
That time it was the Aggies who jumped. And a bunch of flags already. 3rd and 6. Klingler with the short toss has Smith, who is tripped up by Mickens. Smith with the dive forward is very close to the marker for the 1st down. If he got it, it was on the 2nd effort.
I believe it is a 1st down, and it was very good 2nd effort.
And he got it by about a foot. They wore him out last week, and he continued as the game went on to get stronger. He had his best series in the 4th quarter against Baylor.
Bobbles the ball a little bit, gets it strong in his outside arm to protect it, and then at the last moment lunges forward. He sees the marker on the sideline and extends his arms to put the ball past the marker. That's not always an accurate mark because it's away from the markers on the other side, but it's pretty close usually.
Cougars, despite the flags, 1st and 10. This is DeAndre Sanders, who lines up at a number of positions in the Cougar scheme, sometimes tailback, and they'll move him around as a slot back. Tackle is made by Eric England, the right defensive end from Sugar Land, Texas.
There's not a lot of place to run inside on the Aggies. Their inside linebackers step up and meet blocks very well. They've got excellent speed on their defensive front, so they use their hands very well on the offensive player, then recover and pursue the football.
Give you an idea of how little Sanders carries it. 8th attempt of the year. Smith had 81 carries for the year coming in. And again, there is early movement. This time it looks like the left guard, Kenny Robbins, for Houston.
That's that crowd noise.
Both start. Offense.
Obviously tough for the Houston line to deal with. Although Kim Helton disagrees, so they'll move it back to the 35.
One of the tough things is to stand on that sideline and watch someone make a mistake in movement. You've practiced all week with the count. Now don't make a mistake.
Atkinson came on the quick blitz. Klingler did a nice job just getting it off in the general direction of Donald Moffitt. Atkinson timing that blitz perfectly, was almost offsides, but he was able to burst in and make Klingler hurry the throw.
That's the first blitz of the afternoon. That was a linebacker blitz. They can bring all sorts. They can bring an outside corner blitz, but they prefer to bring their inside linebackers, and they've had good success, but not against Jimmy Klingler last year.
Last year in this game, 488 yards against the Aggies and 3 touchdowns. That was, of course, in the run and shoot. Smith breaks one tackle, but not the hit by Graham. Reggie Graham, junior linebacker, sack leader for the Aggies, stops Lamar Smith, and the Cougars will have to punt.
Reggie made an excellent play on the outside, but it was the play of the defensive lineman inside that forced Smith outside. Then the pursuit can get there.
4th and 16, the punt with the win by Terry George. Aaron Glenn runs away from it, and it takes a big Houston bounce all the way inside the 5-yard line. And they'll let that thing get nose up to the goal line. Mercy, what a punt and roll. It goes 67 yards. And the Aggies could not be backed up deeper.
Always the finest. The finest U.S. choice beef. Aged for tenderness. And now the 1/8 inch trim, because we know you like it lean. That's WD brand U.S. choice beef. From Winn-Dixie, the beef people.
Deep in the heart of Texas, and adored by lovers of the Old West, is Fort Worth, a city that not only has its own stock market, but is also a major financial center, because it's one of the 1,900 communities served by Nations Bank, letting Justin Industries keep in step with the latest ideas in investment banking, giving families like the Trevinos a fresh start, and offering a range of resources that keeps people in Fort Worth from having to play second fiddle to anyone.
If you're watching your money closely, you'll like what you see in the new Ford Escort. You'll like the fact that it's priced thousands less than the leading imports, that it has a level of quality that helps bring it more repeat buyers than any other small car, and the fact that you can get any one of these highly equipped Escorts for the same low price. Ford Escort, when it comes to quality and value, it's right on the money.
Terry George's longest punt before this 67-yarder was 48. He has the Aggies backed up inside their own 1-yard line. Nothing game, 8:54 to play in the first quarter. Bullock to the line with a backfield of Thomas and Gross on 1st and 10. And the give to the fullback Gross, who gets him out of the shadow of that goalpost and gouges out about 7 yards. Gross, who is a junior from A&M Consolidated High School here in College Station, and also Detron Smith, his backup, we expect to see together in what they call their hammer backfield quite a bit today.
They're going to use that for power, and in such instances here, they might try to use it. Rodney Thomas is in the ball game right now.
Still waiting on the first appearance by Greg Hill. Aggies coaches said they'd play that by ear as to how much he'd see action. A loss on the give to Thomas, back to the 2. Tackle by Eric Harrison, the left defensive tackle from Fort Worth.
Eric Harrison played the offensive lineman very well that time, kept his feet underneath him and was able to come off the block and make the tackle for a loss.
Offensive coordinator Bob Toledo trying to add some extra wrinkles to his offense because he's got more weapons than he's ever had this year. Although we still haven't seen one of them yet, and that's Hill. Out of his own end zone, Pulig is low, intended for Tony Harrison, but they will give him the catch, and an Aggie first down to the 13.
Well, that was big. Going into the wind, coming off the 1-foot line, getting the first down on the 15 is very big for your offense. Pulig comes out on just a little rollout action, throws it. He throws off balance, and it's low, but down underneath for the catch. Outstanding job.
Flags are down on the first down pass, and Ryan Matthews wrestled down at the 20. Flags were thrown on the snap. If it stands, it's the 7th catch of the year for Matthews.
Red ball, both start, offense.
Boy, right where they really can't afford any miscue.
That's very unusual. Bob Toledo's offense usually extremely polished. They're playing at home. The crowd noise shouldn't be bothering them. They are just anticipating some snaps and moving too quickly.
We were here 3 weeks ago when A&M played Missouri, and a lot of people were worried about Corey Pulig because he had not had a good day at Oklahoma in the Sooners' 44-14 win. But they've simplified their scheme somewhat. They've told him he doesn't have to win every game by himself. He has calmed down, stayed within himself, and now, to a man, his coaches say he's playing about the way they had anticipated he would play, which is at a very high level. First and 15 from their own 8. Out of the eye, the give is to Thomas, who bounces outside and has some room. Donald Douglas came up and hit him at the 15. But Thomas gets him again out of a bit of a hole with a key block by the right tackle, Matthews.
That's a very strong indication of why it is so critical not to make mistakes, particularly inside your own 20-yard line. Had they not had the 5-yard penalty, they're looking at a first down right now with that good run from Rodney Thomas.
He's had at least 100 yards in every game this year. 2nd and 7. Pulig throwing complete to Matthews, who drags a tackler up across the 30 for 15 yards, another Aggie first down.
Man-to-man coverage, simple out route, very good throw by Corey Pulig. You also have fine protection from the offensive line. There was absolutely no pressure.
Pulig has not had a whole lot of success throwing to his wideouts this year. A lot of the completions have been to tight ends and running backs, and they welcome the return from his 5-game suspension of Brian Mitchell. His return has been less heralded than that of Hill, but they think he may be their best wideout. Thomas hit and swarm and drops it. It might be a Cougar recovery at the 27-yard line. Houston ball on the first break of the day. It's Ryan McCoy at the bottom of the pile.
Ryan McCoy, the leader on the defense for the Cougars. Watch him as he plays off the block, runs to the football, gets in perfect position, runs past the ball carrier, but that's the pursuit angle, and then is in a place to cover that football. This is something that the Aggies could not afford to do inside their own territory with the wind in their face, is to turn that football over.
Causing the fumble was Stephen Dixon. as the Cougars break even on the takeaway giveaway for the 1st and 10 at the A&M 27. Short toss is perhaps a lateral that might have been thrown behind him, and it's recovered by the Aggies. Michael Hendricks, the strong safety from Converse Judson, comes up with it.
Ball was thrown low, then mishandled. Receiver took his eye off the ball. Big play for the Aggie defense to turn back around, get the ball back for the Aggie offense.
That was Sherman Smith who couldn't find the handle. Hendricks did, and A&M breathes a big sigh of relief.
There's no stealing your thunder. It can't be contained, 'cause you're the part of me that's the heart of me. Without you I'm just a lonely melody, but together we are harmony. You'll always be a part of me.
To make Friends Fly Free perfectly clear, our lawyer insisted on doing this commercial.
Friends Fly Free is exemplary for migratory commerce. Prior procurement is not essential, and remuneration is made for vouchers held in abeyance. One caveat: both parties enter the contract concurrently. In short, Friends Fly Free minimizes the aforementioned expenditures. Or rather, the fiduciary requirements remitted will invariably and in no uncertain terms compare favorably.
Friends Fly Free on Southwest Airlines. It's just plain smart.
17, your order's ready.
It seems as though the creators of value meals have forgotten that value isn't just how much you pay, but how much you get. Well, with Whataburger's new Whata Meals, you get Whataburger quality and value with the genuine Whataburger, Whata Chicken, beef or chicken fajita, or grilled chicken sandwich, each served with hot fries and a cold drink, making all other value meals seem of very little value. Whataburger Whata Meals at participating restaurants. Breakfast Whata Meals also available.
The Aggies giveth, and then they taketh, and they take it over at their own 38-yard line after the attempted screen to Sherman Smith. The Cougars have had success through the years with that play, and they've been able to bust a lot of long ones, but they have not been able to do much with it today. And that one turned into disaster. Out of the eye on first down, Rodney Thomas gets a block from Gross and is sprung for maybe 10. He'll be close for the first at the 47.
Rodney describes himself as a collision runner, and he just proved it on that run. 2 or 3 people taking a hit. He's twisting, turning, picking up extra yardage.
He says he's, in his own words, more violent in his style than Greg Hill, who tends to be more polished in staying behind his blockers and then picking his spot to burst forward. And then kind of a hybrid of the two would be McElroy. Thomas says he's got some characteristics of both Thomas and Hill. Marker is stretched, and they're about a yard shy still, so it'll be second and short.
The quick stick marker again for those that are not familiar with that. It's a new apparatus designed to give a more accurate marking of the football, which is very important when you have 10 yards.
Movement up front by Houston, and flags are down as Gross would appear to have the first down. But Alexander has been the busiest man on the field so far.
Cougars think sits against the Aggies.
This has got to be the last thing he wanted, because
there is no foul on the play. The offensive movement was caused by the defense in the neutral zone. There was no contact, therefore no foul. Second down.
You're looking at me with a puzzled look like I'm supposed to figure that out. Did that make sense to you?
Absolutely zero. If you're in the neutral zone when the ball's snapped, you're offsides.
That is how I understood the rule. They wave it off, Replay it, second and a couple of feet. McKeon in motion. Thomas takes the pitch and is dropped for a loss. Back at the 45, nice penetration from his safety spot by Douglas, and also Nahala Johnson, the right end.
Come back in with that same intense level that they had last week against Baylor, and they exhibited it there. Getting off the blocks, pursuing the football, not getting up the field too far into the A&M backfield. This defense looks good again this week.
We talked about how the Aggies have simplified things for Pullick. The Cougars, when they changed defensive coordinators in the middle of last week, Gene Smith taking over for Melvin Robertson did the same thing. With great success. This toss to Harrison, and he coughs it up. At midfield, the Aggies think they have made the recovery. It looked at first as if Harrison might have lost that ball after he had hit the turf, but they rule it a fumble, and it is an A&M recovery for the first down.
Good heads-up play by the Aggies after the fumble. Well-conceived play, a little inside screen coming back against the grain, blocking downfield, ball's knocked loose.
Good call. Definitely a fumble. And for the first time in 1993, Greg Hill, who says when you make a mistake, it makes you a better man when you come back and correct it, checks in and carries to the Cougar 43-yard line. Ago, his freshman year, they called it GHT, Greg Hill time. He had watched Darren Lewis become the Southwest Conference's all-time leading rusher. His freshman redshirt year, he came in and looked every bit the equal of Darren Lewis.
7 yards is a good start for the day.
Not bad. 1,216 yards as a freshman, 1,339 yards as a sophomore. And he again takes it left side to the Cougar 35, where he's hit by McCoy. Matthews up front with another key block and another A&M first down.
Greg Hill has excellent balance, but I think one of the things that makes him an outstanding player, he has what is referred to as eyes. He can see peripherally, and he is able to make cuts that a lot of backs cannot make.
One thing he's done during his suspension is build his muscles. He is one of the stoutest looking 205-pound running backs you'll ever see. A lot of time in the weight room. Pulling complete to the tight end, and Short rambles near the 20 for another first down. 14 yards.
Came in with a two tight end offensive formation. Slipped the tight end out into the flat, read the linebacker. We'll watch Corey Pullig reading that linebacker and throws off of him. Pretty good run by a big tight end.
Short, senior from San Antonio, carries to the Houston 21-yard line, and a timeout with 2:46 to go in a scoreless first quarter.
We'd like to welcome the former students here today attending the Department of Agriculture.
Who are the best players in the Southwest Conference? Vote your favorite players on to the Exxon Supreme Team. And for every ballot cast at Exxon, Exxon will contribute 5 cents to the Southwest Conference Scholarship Fund. Vote for the Exxon Supreme Team. Exxon, rely on the Tiger.
There's a hot new game spreading across Texas. Texas Hot Cash from the Texas Lottery. Uh-oh. Anybody, the fire extinguisher over here. Match $3 amounts. And you can win up to $2,500. It's on the camera. Get the fire extinguisher. Texas Hot Cash. Cover up the camera. Quick, cover the camera. When we say hot, we mean it. Cut.
At La Quinta Inns, our most frequent guests are traveling salesmen. So we asked a few how they'd sell La Quinta.
I want to give you the key to this room, because I know you're a smart guy. Sure, you could find a cheap hotel with rooms the size of a shoebox, or some luxury palace with the chandeliers in the bathrooms. How about a hotel that treats you as well as you treat your clients? And easy on the wallet. Take this key. You owe it to yourself.
La Quinta, You're not staying at a hotel. You're staying with us.
Our telecast today, a copyrighted presentation of the University of Houston, Texas A&M University, the Southwest Conference, and Raycom Incorporated, and is intended solely for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or other use of the video or audio portions of this program without prior written consent is forbidden.
Brian Mitchell's in the game for the first time, Dave, and if he does as well as Greg Hill did on his first two plays, they may be in the end zone.
That'd be quite a debut. He's wide right, top of your screen. 1st and 10, A&M to give once again to the tailback Hill, and he's near another first down. Showing no ill effects whatsoever from his layoff. The tackle by John W. Brown.
Collins is an outstanding offensive lineman, and if you'll watch him take his man and perform what is referred to as a pancake, that opens up a running lane for Greg Hill, and he takes advantage of it. The guy's averaging about 7 yards a pop.
Calvin Collins will be here a long time. This is the redshirt freshman from Beaumont. Hill carried for 9, 2nd and 1. And don't think enough for the first down this time. Hit at the 12 by Bell, the weak side backer. The Aggies have shown a lot of the ability to mix it up on this drive, and Houston called that timeout maybe to spoil their rhythm just a bit. He does not have the first, and it'll be 3rd and 1.
One of the things that you notice when Greg Hill came into the game, it seemed that everyone picked it up another notch on the field. I think that's because of the respect that the team has for Greg. I've been impressed with the way he's handled the suspension. He's been very upright about it, and I think the players have looked forward to his coming back.
Motion man McKeon, the second tight end. Hill, right side, big room, 1st and goal, Aggies.
Vintage offense from the Texas Aggies. Just turn and pitch it to the tailback, get blocking up front, let him do his thing. And again, he picked up another 7 or 8 yards, and they're on the lip down there, 5 yards from the goal line.
Their entire stable averaging about 6 per carry, and Greg Hill right at that number himself. 1st and goal, A&M. From the 5, the draw play to Hill, who carries to the 2.
You mentioned a moment ago about Greg's strength. He just exhibited some on that linebacker as he plowed right over the top of him, put him on his back, and moved the ball to the 2-yard line.
The other thing he did is he gets a nice hand headed toward the sideline. The other thing he did during his layoff was he volunteered for the scout team. He impersonated the tailback for whatever that week's opponent happened to be. Well, he'll get you ready for anybody. Pitch, Rodney Thomas unable to get that corner turn. Donald Douglas comes in and tosses him out of bounds. So the loss back near the 6 to bring up 3rd and goal.
Rodney Thomas is outside on just a sweep hand, and is met by Donald Douglas, who read the play very well coming out of the secondary. You could probably anticipate that with his quick movement on the running play, you'll see a fake of that, and they'll try to get the ball in the end zone behind his very aggressive movement toward the offensive line of scrimmage.
That's the end of the first quarter. No score at Kyle Field in College Station.
So, what are we doing today?
I'd like to go buy some flowers.
Oh, I know a place we can go buy some flowers.
Great. Then maybe the theater to catch something?
Yeah, catch something.
Only Ford Explorer combines the luxury of more space with the ruggedness of four-wheel drive.
And then I thought a nice candlelight dinner.
Yeah, candlelight dinner.
Ford Explorer. The world's just too big to be left unexplored.
We'll go for main engine start. 7, 6. We have main engine start. 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
It's flight time at Rice Stadium, home of the 1993 Rice Owls. Don't miss the fun. Join this year's version of the Winged Warriors. 1993 Rice Football Trading Card Day, sponsored by Taco Cabana and the Houston Post. Call 629-3700.
In this corner, representing high supermarket meat prices, Bum Steer. And in this corner, on a never-ending quest to lower your grocery bill, Price Slasher.
Well, Price Slasher, you have certainly smashed high meat prices today.
That's right, Bad Bobby. High meat prices. Your days are numbered in this town. We get a year-round food plan. That's 300 pounds of beef plus 100 pounds of pork, poultry, and vegetables. Only $25 a week.
And Price Slasher, what else go with this order?
You purchase this order right now, folks, and you receive a free home food processor. Plus, be one of the first 100 callers and open a 90-day interest-free account and get a $100 cash rebate.
Lou's Meat Market, now with 2 locations to serve you better.
Good crowd, expected to be somewhere over 60,000 at Kyle Field on the A&M campus today. Dave Barnett, Grant Teaff on Raycom and Prime Network, where we open the second quarter. 3rd down and goal, A&M from the Houston 4-yard line. Corey Pulig on the roll, pressured by McCoy, and it is caught in the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Texas A&M. Ryan Matthews, first touchdown of his junior year.
The coaches in the press box picked up the fast movement of Douglas, the free safety, and selected a play that would put a receiver right in that zone, and it was wide open.
Harry Venetoulias, perfect on the ear. Now 20 for 20 on extra points, and it's 7-0 Aggies.
See Douglas up toward the line of scrimmage, steps up inside. Pulig rolls out to the outside and throws the ball into the open zone for the touchdown.
Nice sliding catch, too, reaching back behind him by Ryan Matthews. As the Aggies celebrate after a 12-play drive, 62 yards. Matthews finishes it, but that drive notable mainly for the debut of the junior season by Greg Hill. Several nice runs to punctuate the first scoring drive of the afternoon. Look at the first quarter stats. It was scoreless, of course, at the end of the first. Houston with just 2 first downs. A&M had 6. No rushing yards for the Cougars, and only 9 passing yards. Corey Pulig, 5 of 6 for 37. And those numbers not what you would expect from a Houston offense. But again, they are facing the number 6 rated defense in the country. And the defense which is rounding into shape since the disappointment at Oklahoma earlier in the year. With the win, Venetoulias will send this one through the end zone, and Houston will start from their 20.
Texas A&M is a university that's loaded with great tradition. One is the 12th man. The opposite stands from us, the home of the 12th man. They place on each of the kickoff teams a walk-on that comes out to symbolize the 12th man, who at one time in the past history came down out of the stands and participated in a game. It's been a great revival of that tradition and given young people that wouldn't have a chance to play.
Houston 1st and 10. Their own 20-yard line, and there's a nice gap for Tiandre Sanders, who backs his way near the 40. Biggest gain yet for Houston. It goes 20 yards for Sanders.
Sam Adams looks like he's going to be in the backfield and be very disruptive. Makes an excellent move, but the running back runs right by him, breaks into the secondary. Linebacker is now stepped to his right. Good run, Tiandre.
Lamar Smith Puts his head down, pushes forward. He'll get about 3 or 4 yards. Tackle is made by Graham. Louisville hoping to stay unbeaten. Big test at West Virginia today. Smith will head out on 2nd down and 7. We got the highest of compliments from the Aggie defensive coaches yesterday. They said that from what they've seen on film of Smith, he's at least as good or maybe better than Van Morris, who A&M shut down at Lubbock last week. Klingler on the run just to make sure no one can catch that one in the general area of Peters, and it'll be 3rd and 7.
The Cougar running game last week did something to the Aggie defense that surprised me a little bit. They have not blitzed one time. They're concerned about the run. They're playing more in a zone, going to contain, and not trying to put any pressure on Klingler at this point. I suppose if he hurts them, then they'll bring with the pressure.
Of course, it's a different preparation now that you don't always get the 4 wideouts. Here you do. This is a more traditional look for the Cougars, but a lot of high formation, a lot of 2 tight end. Sanders turned away at the 45 by Graham and some buddies. And that's something you wouldn't have seen last year, a conservative call on 3rd and 7.
Absolutely not. I think Coach Helton is trying to bring this football team along. He's adding some offensive plays each week, and he thinks that if they can get better each week offensively, not turn the ball over a lot, and gain confidence by the end of the year, they can be a good football team.
George's kick into the wind will bounce and stay away from Aaron Glenn, which is not that bad if you're a Cougar fan. Glenn leads the nation in punt return. Goal goes to the 16. Punt travels 39 yards. 7-0 Texas A&M.
It's where the careers of naval officers are launched, and where pleasure boaters come to cast away from it all. But Annapolis, Maryland is also a major financial center because it's served by Nations Bank, which enables coastal properties to call on a depth of experience in financing, offers the overstreets everything from equity loans to mutual funds, and gives people a bank that puts greater financial power at their command. In Annapolis and in 1,900 other communities throughout our nation.
Give a smoking strap to a guitar cat. You got the makings of rock and roll. You get a cold Coors Light, it'll be alright. Got a party with a Texas soul. You put some hot legs down, don't you love that sound? You're gonna do it, better do it right. Because a get down band goes hand in hand with Texas and cold Coors Light.
Why Farm Bureau Insurance?
They look at your total insurance needs
and develop what's best for you.
When you have a claim, Farm Bureau works hard to get you back on the road, fast.
If health problems interrupt your income, they can help keep you going.
Helping you is what we do best. That's why people across America, from every walk of life, depend on Farm Bureau Insurance.
Americans like you.
For auto, home, and life, call your local Farm Bureau today.
Well, there was a late flag on that punt, so they backed him up, and Houston had to kick it again. This one goes 40 yards, and really not a whole lot of difference. A&M will start from their 20. 1st down and 10 from there.
The wind has died down a little bit. He was able to get a better kickoff into the wind than we've seen in the first quarter.
We got here about 9:30 this morning, and it was whipping. It was probably at least 25 miles per hour. It was hard to imagine any successful kicks into the wind today, but it has calmed quite a bit. Greg Hill stays in at the tailback and strings out the sweep for about 3 yards, carrying Alfred Young, the right corner, with him, and Jerome Williams, the strong safety.
I continue to be impressed with the mobility and the pursuit of this Houston defense. And it's strange that through 3 ball games, they seemed almost non-existent. They made a lot of mistakes. They tackled poorly. Now in this game and the game last week, they've turned into a good defensive football team.
Moved up 8 spots in the national rankings last week. They had a ways to travel from number 105. The fullback Smith breaks some tackles, and at the 42-yard line has a 1st and 10, 19 yards before McCoy chases him down.
Detron Smith, very fine athlete. Gets the ball on the perimeter, makes a very strong lunge, breaks free, and picks up that very important extra yardage. And also, he, I think, did a little damage to the guy coming in to make the tackle.
Yeah, he left Alfred Young in his wake. He was one of the would-be tacklers. Smith, who they compare to Robert Wilson, one of the strongest backs they've ever had here at A&M, averaged 10 pancake blocks, you talked about that earlier, per game as a high school senior at Lake Highlands in Dallas. Second strongest Aggie, Detron Smith, as they check on Alfred Young. Our Southwest Airlines storyline, Houston has been limited to just 34 total yards. Matthews has the touchdown catch on 3rd and goal. Hill on that drive, 7 carries, 37 yards on the day. Young will make his way to the bench under his own power. Not a real deep defense. He's starting because John H. Brown, JB2, strained a knee 2 weeks ago at Michigan. He was very limited last week. And so a thin defense just at least temporarily got even thinner. Little delay run, Hill outside. Houston territory, close for another 1st down, wrapped up by Douglas.
Vintage Hill closed inside, take it outside. East and west, then turn it north and south.
You would think that the last thing to come back after a layoff would be timing, but he looks like he's got his usual timing today.
I think he was very smart in volunteering for the scout team, rather standing behind the offense, watching them, feeling sorry for himself. He made a contribution to the Aggie team by playing on the scout team, and it helped his timing.
1st and 10, A&M, up 7-0. Early 2nd quarter. Hill off left tackle and near the 43. Mike Mukes, the backup at end, junior from Fresno, California, 6'1", 271-pounder. Made the ankle tackle on Greg Hill.
There's some good movement in the offensive line. Chris Dawson, Jason Matthews, and Calvin Collins are 3 of the better offensive linemen in the conference. They have taken what was sort of a nondescript offensive line and turned them in mid-season to a very solid offensive line.
Matthews is the guy that's really come on. He's been a defensive lineman, a tight end, now a tackle. Harrison took a knee as soon as he made that catch and marked himself down at the 38, about a yard shy of the 1st down.
Pass complete to number 3.
A lot of Thomas, a lot of Hill so far. The guy we haven't seen with the ball yet is McElroy, but we expect to. They're trying to figure out some new ways to utilize Leland McElroy as what they call a nickelback. You think of a nickelback as a defensive back, but that's the term they're going to give McElroy when they line him up, sometimes in the backfield, sometimes as a wideout, sometimes in a slot. But it's still Hill at tailback, and Smith breaking out of the eye in motion. Open was short and a bit hot for him as he had to reach for that one, and the Cougars have held.
Call that open as a butcher knife. There's not anybody close to you. Perfect position to pick up the 1st down. What we're seeing now with the Houston defense, the cornerbacks are laying off of the wide receivers, respecting their speed. They're able to throw the quick outside, the stop out for 8 or 9 yards. And we'll see that the rest of the game.
Former walk-on from Austin, James Bennett, with the wind, angling for the corner. And he got it at the 2-yard line.
Wow, that's a tremendous kick. And with the wind to your back, blowing across the bow of the ball, that's really great trajectory.
At La Quinta Inns, our most frequent guests are traveling salesmen. So we asked a few how they'd sell La Quinta.
So you're on the road a lot, put in some long hours? Hey, I know how tough that can be. We really do earn our money, don't we? Okay, now where to stay? You consider La Quinta? They treat you good and the price is right. You care about money? Or do you just want to throw it away?
La Quinta. You're not staying at a hotel. You're staying with us.
Diet Dr. Pepper, the taste you've been looking for.
We challenge you. We want you to do it. Because the best way to appreciate the all-new 32-valve 280-horsepower Lincoln Mark 8 is to drive everything else first. People are driving everything else, but driving away in a Lincoln Mark 8. Mark 8 is now the most popular luxury coupe in America, outselling Acura Legend, Cadillac Eldorado, and the Lexus SC300 and 400 combined. The new Lincoln Mark 8. Drive everything else first.
Today's game is brought to you in part by the Texas Lottery. And tonight's Lotto Texas estimated jackpot is $3 million. Well, the Aggies were backed up to their own 1-foot line, and they survived. And right now, Houston backed up to their 2, trailing 7-0 in the second quarter.
I can't think of a place more difficult to be than on the 2-yard line in Kyle Field with the noise level about to go to the top and going into the wind.
Into the wind is probably the toughest factor of all. And just 34 total yards all day by the Cougars. Lamar Smith gets him out near the 5-yard line where he's put down by Graham and Antonio Shorter.
Reggie Graham is one of those unheralded linebackers from Texas A&M, but watch him play 2 blocks, come off the block, and make the tackle. That's linebacking.
He's their sack leader. There were only 4 sacks on the year. Sacks are not quite what they used to be here. There are flags all over the place as Lamar Smith is into Aggie territory should the play stand. There were a lot of players standing around as if they had heard a whistle or thought they had heard a whistle. And there were 2 flags at the line of scrimmage. It went 46 yards, but we'll see if it counts.
Offside on the defense will be refused.
Yep, it counts. Big time it counts. That was a well-executed play. Again, a way to use Smith, getting him into the secondary clear, and a big, big play. Play action fake to Tiandre. Swift Smith out into the secondary, and boy, is that a big one. Into the wind.
Smith getting a breather. Houston from the Aggie 49-yard line. 46-yard pass and run play. Donald Moffitt, who got a brief tryout at the tailback last week in the win over Baylor. Normally an inside slot receiver, just 5'9", 176. He's tackled by Steve Solari.
Steve Solari is a transfer student that came in and has made a real contribution. Watch him on this play. Play off the block and makes the stop.
Senior from Sugar Land, Willow Ridge High School. Second down at 8, and Klingler, under heavy pressure, dropped it midfield. Adams and England meet at the quarterback.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Coach will say a few choice words to Klingler when he comes to the sideline. It's fine to scramble, but you eat that football. Watch him get that arm up being pursued. They're fortunate that he held on to the ball at that time. Could have given the Aggies great field position.
Third and about 10 and a half for Houston. On the slant end, it's incomplete, intended for Joey Mouton. Pass was just slightly overthrown. It looked like Mouton was open. And Houston can go no further after the big play. So So Terry George, whose last punt went 67 yards down to the 1-foot line, will kick this one into the wind. Aaron Glenn back at his 10. That's sacked by the Aggies. Their first against Houston in 2 years. They did not sack Jimmy Klingler in the Astrodome last year. And you can see the wind just slap that one down at the 27-yard line. It's touched near the 30. And finally down to the 22 by Jerome Williams. 19 yards into that merciless north wind. Now maybe some question as to whether they mark it at the first spot of contact or the second. And there's also a flag down. As we wait for the indication, there's some notes from around the league on our Ford Southwest Conference updates. Texas later on at the Cotton Bowl against Oklahoma, and they have won their last 4 against the Sooners, who have had a better record every one of those years coming into the game. SMU's Chad Patton, 1 more sack, and he ties the all-time Mustang school sack record. And one of the best kick blockers you'll ever see. Baylor's J.J. Joe coming in needing 147
illegal
yards.
By the kicking team. Penalty be refused. First down.
147 yards, and Joe will tie Cody Carlson for the all-time Baylor pass yards record. I want to alert you that because of atmospheric disturbances called sunspots, we may experience some breakup in our transmission today. It's a temporary condition. Please bear with us. Aggies go from just outside their 30, leading 7-0 midway second period. Gross back in at fullback. Thomas back in at tailback, and he sends the tackler backwards near a first down.
Self-described collision runner, and he did collide.
And the guy who gets the worst of it here is Jerome Williams.
Jerome's a good defensive player. He was in perfect position to make the hit, but actually the shoulder pads of the running back were under the tackler, and you're going to go back most of the time unless you get your shoulder pads under the offensive ball carrier.
Aggies go with their hammer formation. Both fullbacks in together, Gross and Smith, and it's Detron Smith for the first down with the extra effort. There are some backs who will do anything possible to avoid contact, and then there's some like Thomas who seem to relish it and seek it out.
He's like a heat-seeking missile when he gets in that secondary. He will run over you, but the thing that makes him so tough is that he can also run around you.
Gross, a guy who has been very quietly effective as a junior. Started a couple of times as a freshman 2 years ago, and then Doug Carter, the starter, last year. Gross nearly 5 yards per carry as a junior this year. Rodney Thomas to Houston's 49-yard line. With their depth and with the return of Hill, they should never have a tired back. Whoever they have back there should always have fresh legs.
Offensive linemen are coming off the ball well. Watch Matthews on this play. Opens a gaping hole, and of course, when you let Rodney Thomas have that kind of hole, he's going to bounce around in that secondary.
They nicknamed Jason Matthews Torso. You see him especially out of pads. You see how apt that nickname is. He is all torso. Short legs, 260, 6'7" frame. Thomas again puts that head down and drives forward and has another Aggie first at the 43. It took both safeties to bring him down.
R.C. Slocum told me yesterday that he thinks this is the best athlete on the offensive line, and you can see here. He forced his man outside, kept his feet, and again created some running room for the running backs. First down.
Under 6 minutes in the second quarter. After a scoreless first. Short toss. Tony Harrison juggles it but hangs on. And he's inside the 35-yard line where Douglas and Bell combine for the hit. Harrison probably their most effective receiver so far this year, but he gets some help with the return to the active status of Brian Mitchell. who was a career 25-yard per catch deep threat for A&M. And look at the possession time. Got a 2-1 edge for A&M.
Running that ball.
Motion man McKeon. Just needing one for the first. Thomas will get a bunch more and knocked out inside the 20 of Houston by Donald Douglas. 15. Rodney Thomas.
On the running play.
Texas A&M is able to pick up some very vital yardage because the Houston secondary is deep off the wide receivers. This is a counteraction play that brings the ball back to the short side of the field where that hash mark has been widened. 2 more yards of running room for Rodney Thomas, and he takes advantage of it.
Jerome Williams it was, standing between Thomas and 6 points. First and 10, the 19-yard line. The other side this time, and Douglas gets some help, but you can see the leg strength of Thomas. It took 4 Cougars to finally drag him out of bounds.
Very strong-legged. In fact, both he and Hill have 2 great sets of legs. They use them when the crowd comes in on them, but they also have speed in those legs, speed to burn.
The average coming in 240 rushing yards per game. That's good for 12th in the country. The passing yards per game slowly climbing, but in the bottom half of the country, a little over 170 per game. Good start today, though, by Pulley. And he'll go to the air on 2nd and 7. Great protection. The ball is incomplete, intended for Ryan Matthews, and the Aggies screen for interference, but there's no flag.
Well, that's good defense. One of the things that you can't always see where there's contact of the body or the arm coming across the body. And naturally, a crowd's going to think that may be interference, but the truth of the matter is it looked like a very solid defensive play, breaking on the ball. He has as much right to the football as the offensive player does.
So decision time on 3rd down and 7. They come out in a passing look with Harrison and Matthews both wide right. And the toss off balance will have a flag. It was intended for McKeon at the goal line. And it was nowhere near to complete, but the flags were thrown in the Cougars secondary. From where they threw it, you might think it was a holding call that they're discussing here.
I think it was. I think Ryan McCoy had his hands on the tight end, keeping him from getting loose as he was previously in the first quarter.
Boy, when you had a 3rd and 7, how costly that penalty is.
2 things about executing a play like that is for the quarterback to get rid of the ball quickly.
On the defense against an eligible receiver, half the distance penalty to the goal line, automatic first down.
Keeping the ball in the air quickly allows the official to see the hole. See how quickly he gets the ball off? He knew that he couldn't get the ball to tight end, but he also knew that the tight end was being held up by Ryan McCoy. Watch him grab hold of his shirt. That is holding, Ryan.
They tried to be subtle about it. Tried to just get the end of the sleeve. But Alexander giving Helton his explanation on the 6th penalty of the afternoon against his Cougars. And the Aggies are set up now, first down and goal at the Houston 8. On top already, 7-0.
The routes for Texas A&M have been extremely simple, little quick outs, read the back out of the backfield, read the tight end.
Throws some Thomas in the eye. Matthews in motion. Rodney Thomas hit at the line and backs outside the 10-yard line, driven there by Stephen Dixon.
A very good recovery by the defensive folks over there for the Cougs. Stepped up. Rodney hits inside, steps to the outside, and makes something happen, but the defense is in good position. Good tackle, good high tackle on Rodney Thomas. Don't get low on that guy. He'll knee you.
Gene Smith, who took over as the coordinator of the Cougar defense last week. with immediate results. Loss of 1, second and goal. Thomas, right side, high, steps into the end zone. Rodney Thomas leads the Southwest Conference in scoring. That is touchdown number 9 for the junior from Groveton. A&M up 13-0.
Well, that's a very solid, sound play down on the goal line. You turn, make a safe pitch, get people out on the perimeter, and then let a great running back knock it into the end zone, and that's exactly what Rodney Thomas did.
And Venetoulias with the extra point. Thomas also came in tied for second nationally in scoring, and he won't hurt that after.
Watch the pull of the offensive lineman. You see the backside guard, the onside guard pulling. Great block on the outside by Collins, and it's an easy walk into the end zone.
4:04 in the half. A&M 14, Houston nothing.
If you're waiting for a special occasion to fly, we'd like to remind you they happen every day. Southwest Airlines senior fares for people 65 and over. Fully refundable fares to every one of Southwest Airlines' scheduled destinations. Every day of the year.
For quick response. For smooth acceleration. Turn him loose. For a cleaner engine, turn him loose. Move up to 93 octane Exxon Supreme and turn the Tiger loose.
Your order's ready.
Number 6.
It seems as though the creators of value meals have forgotten that value isn't just how much you pay, but how much you get. Well, with Whataburger's new Whata Meals, you get Whataburger quality and value with the genuine Whataburger, Whata Chicken, beef or chicken fajita, or grilled chicken sandwich, each served with hot fries and a cold drink, making all other value meals seem of very little value. Whataburger Whata Meals at participating restaurants. Breakfast Whata Meals also available.
Well, Houston had battled hard to a scoreless first quarter, now down 14-0. Costa, they changed their game plan, now down a couple of touchdowns, and they stick with the mixture run and pass that we've seen.
I think Coach Helton wants to try to establish his offense. I don't think you get tricky against this very fine A&M defense. You better stick with your knitting. Try to do the things you plan to do coming into the game. Now, one thing that he mentioned to us earlier today was that he was going to insert a few trick plays. We really haven't seen that much except just the wide screen out there where he sends the tailback in motion.
Well, and the one that really blew up in their faces was the lateral on the attempt to Sherman Smith right after they had made a recovery at the A&M 27-yard line. And that play looms right now as probably the biggest in the game because it was 0-0 when Houston turned it right back over. Now they find themselves down by 14. Lamar Smith making it up as he goes. That play originally designed, it looked like, to go straight through the middle and then bounce right and then cut it back left and turns it into a 6-yard pickup.
There was no design on that play. That was strictly Lamar Smith making something out of nothing.
But that's about as well as any defense has held him this year. 6 carries for this 22 yards. Klingler has it batted down at the line for the second time today. Antonio Shorter, the outside linebacker who was questionable because of a bruised hand coming in.
I hope that was his good hand.
I was just going to say, probably it was the good hand. Because they were supposed to have a cast on the bad one.
That's 2 knockdowns and 1 sack of this defense this afternoon. That's more than they got last year against Klingler.
And the Aggies in the 6 comes. They pick him up nicely. Deep ball up the sideline is too deep. It was intended for Ron Peters in single coverage with Aaron Glenn, and not too many people have succeeded when it's been Glenn man on man.
Well, he's outstanding. In 1989, Jason Atkinson was on the sideline as a redshirt freshman. He was watching intensely this ball game, and Andre Ware had just moved his team down to the goal line. And old Aaron Wallace came in on a blitz, knocked the ball loose, knocked the helmet off, and Ware picked it up in triumphal gesture, and the defense has never been the same since then. They've taken that handle of the wrecking crew and worn it beautifully.
That kick goes 38 yards. Coming up at halftime, we'll introduce the Exxon Supreme Team nominees at defensive back, and Aaron Glenn's among that group. And we'll take a look at the Texas Lottery first half highlights and hear from both marching bands. Kind of a late arriving crowd, but they have almost filled in that horseshoe area here at Kyle Field, which holds 70,000. It's going to be somewhere above 60 they expect today. On a football weather kind of an afternoon, breezy and cool. 3:13 remaining in the half. A&M ball at their 37, first and 10. Greg Hill's turn at tailback, and a flag is down as he weaves for about 8 yards. Flag was thrown in the area of the snap.
That usually indicates holding. Not much else can go wrong in there unless there's some movement that the umpire detects, but normally when he throws a flag, you can figure that the offense held.
Holding on the offense, 10-yard penalty, replay first down.
So what looked to be a decent gain here for A&M backs up instead to their 26-yard line. A lot of Hill, a lot of Thomas, nothing so far from McElroy, and they wanted to make a point of utilizing him some way so far, and he has yet to make a dent. The only freshman in Aggie history to score 3 times in one game. That was against Missouri in A&M 73-0 whitewashing 3 weeks ago.
Bootleg.
Bolig overthrows the intended man Harrison, who gets popped anyway. His receivers have bailed him out by pulling down a few high balls today. Throwing with that wind may be a factor. That one was too high.
Receiver had to be about 6'8" to pull that one down. That was just way up there.
So second and 21. 2:39 in the half. Ryan Mitchell is in the game again. He goes to the top of your screen. Etron Smith in at fullback. Hill still the tailback. And Pulig off the play fake. Will keep, and Alan Aldridge riding him out of bounds at the 30-yard line.
Ryan McCoy did something very unusual that time, Dave. He missed an open field tackle. For him, that's unusual. He's a sure tackler and leads the league in tackles.
You made a comparison in terms of statistics that I never thought I would ever hear you make last week, and it's to Mike Singletary. The numbers, though, stack up to the ones that Singletary put up at Baylor. About 15 tackles per game to lead the conference.
I was reminiscent of the time that Mike Singletary did lead the conference, and Ryan has done that this year, and that's the reminder.
McElroy checks in. He is slot right. Harrison with the pitch, which they hope would catch the Cougar defense unawares. McElroy is knocked down at the 33, and pretty good recognition by the Cougars.
That's a little trick play put in to try to utilize McElroy, his speed and his talent. Ball is just a straight drop back thrown to the outside, and then he pitches the ball off. But I would say that the defense of the Cougars did an excellent job in reading that, not giving anything up, not running off with the ball, staying your ground, then going in and make the play.
Delmonico Montgomery, number 14, deserves the credit for turning McElroy back inside on that one. It'll be 4th down and 14. Unbeaten streaks that are currently ongoing. Michigan with 23 straight Big Ten victories tops that list. Alabama 18 straight in the SEC. Bowling Green with 17 in a row in the Mid-American. And the Aggies are shooting for their 17th straight in Southwest Conference play here today. That dates back to the Texas game at the end of the 90 season, which they lost by just 1 in Austin. 28-27. Average margin of victory, 21 points.
16 straight.
They have had a reign of terror in this league that few teams in the history of the Southwest Conference are able to match. Aggies in the mid-'80s had it going. Texas, of course, in the 60s and 70s. Arkansas in the late 50s and early 60s.
You know, this is a very important point right here for the Cougars. They have held A&M, forced them to punt with 2 minutes and 20 seconds prior to the half. Now, that's not a lot of momentum to take into the half, but at least the defense stopped them. Now it's up to the offense. It'll be interesting to see what Coach Helton does in terms of going into the win and his offensive philosophy.
False start, offense.
The Cougar defensive line flinched that time, and they got 32 for the Aggies. Larry Walker to flinch back. And so the Aggies march backwards, and they'll punt on 4th and 19. Houston with one more timeout left, 2 minutes and 20 seconds in the half. Bennett needs an outstanding kick with the win. Cougars send the pressure, and it is a good roll. Good thing for A&M because it wasn't much of a kick. Lawrence McPherson watches it roll out of bounds at the 27-yard line.
You know, when you look at the statistics on that, they'll never know it was a poor kick. Got the wind behind it, got a good Aggie bounce, and moved an extra 15 or 20 yards.
It'll look real good in the paper, 45 yards.
That's one of the important things that you try to teach your men that return the punts is to handle a short kick like that so that you don't lose that 15 yards. You go ahead and attack the ball and keep from losing the yardage.
One back set, 2:11 to play in the half, underthrown, intended for a guy that's been shut out today, Keith Jack.
Secondary of Texas A&M is in a deep zone. They're going to let them throw anything underneath that they want to throw, converge on the ball, but don't give them anything long. You don't want them to go into halftime with any sort of momentum offensively. Just shut them down. Don't let them score.
But as you saw, it's been a miserable first half for Klingler. And he wasn't close on that first down attempt. Aggies blitz, draw play, Lamar Smith at the 33, hit by Graham and Junior White as we go under 2 minutes in the half. So the two big weapons held well in check in this half. Smith just 26 yards and Klingler just 3 of 10.
This third down is very important. You don't want to punt into this win to Aaron Grant with 144, 140 somewhere in that area left. They've still got a chance to score if you give up the football here.
Klingler, pump fake, keeps. He is not the fastest quarterback you'll ever see. And he dives near the first down marker, but apparently about a foot shy.
That's cutting it a little short. It's okay to slide, but start your slide past the first down marker.
Well, they give it to him. First down near the 38.
I guess he knew where that first down was.
Oh, that's pretty good vision.
That's real peripheral vision, I can tell you.
Now A&M will burn its first timeout. They call this with 1:29 in the half.
Stop the clock here because you have a timeout left. Houston may bobble the ball. You can get a turnover. You got great field position, time to get more points on the board. So it's wise for Texas A&M to stop the clock, gather themselves after this first down, and now try to get the football back.
Really a remarkable first 4.5 years for Richard Copeland Slocum. 42-11-1. That's his career percentage coming into today. He's the fastest ever to 40 wins in conference history. If he wins, no matter what Joe Paterno does today, he will pass him and be number 3 on that all-time winning percentage list. He'll go up to 791, and Paterno would be at 788. Third all-time.
R.C. Slocum has spent as much time in this league as I did, and a lot of his time up to the last 5 years was as an assistant. He's one of the better coaches in the country.
First and 10, Houston. Good protection for Klingler all day, and he fires again, incomplete. Sherman Smith screaming that he was held up on the pattern. But no officials agree, and it'll be second and 10.
A lot of times you don't know the individual battles that are happening on the football field. Look at Clapp and look at Adams. Clapp still chasing him, trying to get him down. Watch it here, guys. The official could call that on either one of you, and your coaches would be very upset.
Blitz comes. Klingler is buried. Reggie Graham.
That's the second sack for the Wreckage crew. 2 knockdowns at the line of scrimmage, batting the ball down. That's pretty good statistics for the first half.
Graham has had an outstanding first half. That game now in the third quarter at Tallahassee. Florida State still leading 21-7. Second sack by the Aggie defense, averaging 4.5 sacks per game. Lamar Smith got away from Solari's tackle, but he's nowhere near the first down. He's finished off by England and Graham, and the clock rolls inside 30 seconds before it is stopped by A&M at 29 seconds in the half. A&M second timeout as they await the punt by Terry George. And the rest of the schedule has SMU and Baylor hooking up at 2 o'clock. TCU and Rice also at 2. At the Cotton Bowl, Texas and Oklahoma at 2:30. And tonight at 7 at Jones Stadium in Lubbock. Texas Tech looks to get back on the winning track against North Carolina State.
The punt coverage team for Houston's huddled up on the sideline. The kicking coach is telling them now's a great opportunity for Texas A&M to come after the ball, to try to block it. 29 seconds left. Try to block the ball, get another chance to score.
SMU and Baylor, by the way, at Omni Stadium in Dallas at 2. George will kick to Glenn, who has yet to get an opportunity today.
They're coming. Good blocking by Houston.
Way short. Boy, the wind is just refusing to let any punt do any damage whatsoever. It rolls out still in Houston territory on a 14-yard kick at their 48-yard line.
Bombs away. Texas A&M with the wind at their back on the 50-yard line. They'll put maybe 2, maybe 3 down close to the end zone unless expecting Houston to expect them to throw deep. Screen might be a good play at this stage.
Matthews and Harrison go wide left. Rolling and delivering complete to Ryan Matthews, who scrambles out of bounds at the 35 with 15 seconds.
With the wind to their back, they can run the out routes, come on the outside with the little rollout, and work the ball down and get in a position to kick a field goal with this wind to their back.
Well, you called it about a 20-yard win, so from where they are now, it would be a 52-yarder, but with the wind, that makes it, what, about 32, really?
Absolutely. I think they could kick at it here and have a good chance to make it.
They have 1 timeout left. Already up 14-0. Another sideline route to Matthews. Picks up about 7 more to the 28. And with 9 seconds to go, Venetoulias and the field goal unit will head out there for what will be about a 45-yarder with the aid of that big North Breeze. Holder is Stormy Case. And this one actually from 46 yards.
he kicks it straight, it should go right through because the wind will carry it. The distance is not a factor. Houston is offsides. He'll get another try if this one isn't good, and it is.
Now that kick was on a 2nd down and 4.
Yep.
And if it's a 5-yard mark-off against Houston, they would have a first down.
Yeah, 5 seconds to go.
But do you take the points off the board?
I don't think you take points off the board. I think RC will be happy with that 3 points. They did score right before the half. That's what the defense wanted, to give the ball to the offense so that they get points on the board.
Offside on the defense will be refused. Still goal is good.
Longest kick of the year by Terry Benetoulis, 46 yards. And Texas A&M with 17 unanswered points here in the second.
Those 3 points, Dave, were very important because what you carry into that dressing room has an effect on what happens in the second half. And that momentum that the offense just established by working it down, getting into position, take advantage of the wind, will pay big dividends in the second half.
3-play drive, 20 yards. Does this change the strategic thinking in the second half of Houston now that they're down by 3 scores?
Well, it just depends on what Coach Helton is trying to accomplish. I think that he is trying to build a solid football team. He wants his team to come out in the second half and play very well. I would be very surprised if he came out and started throwing ever down. I think he'll stay with his game plan and try to play better defense, hope for and try to create some turnovers so that they can get some field position and get points on the board.
Well, again, the one they created, they did nothing with. That was the fumble recovery at A&M's 27, which they immediately gave back to the Aggies back in the first quarter.
I agree with you on that it was the play of the half, because had they been able to get points on the board with the wind at their back at that time, they would have put themselves in a much better position.
Again, through the end zone. Houston will have one shot to take with 5 seconds and a half from their 20-yard line. Trailing 17-0. On a really miserable first half for Jimmy Klingler. 3 of 11 for 55 yards. Remember, just a year ago in this matchup, he threw 28 of 57 for 488. 3 touchdowns. Bob Davie, the defensive coordinator, said there was nothing like trying to get ready for the run and shoot that Houston ran under John Jenkins. Especially, that was a short week. They played that game on a Thursday night.
Klingler just killed the clock here.
End of the first half. Houston kept it close, scoreless at the end of the first quarter, but the Aggies broke through in the second as they look to extend their Southwest Conference winning streak to 17 in a row. 17-0 at halftime here in Aggie Land. The Exxon Game of the Week is brought to you by the 1993 Exxon Southwest Conference Supreme Team, the all-conference team that will be determined by you, the fans. By Southwest Airlines. By Winn-Dixie. By Ford. By Texas Farm Bureau. And by Wrangler, the Western Original.
Cowboys invented Wrangler cowboy cut jeans for those relaxing moments when you just want to stretch out and unwind. Wrangler, the Western Original.
We challenge you. We want you to do it. Because the best way to appreciate the all-new 32-valve 280-horsepower Lincoln Mark 8 is to drive everything else first. People are driving everything else, but driving away in a Lincoln Mark 8. Mark 8 is now the most popular luxury coupe in America, outselling Acura Legend, Cadillac Eldorado, and the Lexus SC300 and 400 combined. The new Lincoln Mark 8. Drive everything else first.
Wrangler cowboy cut jeans were designed by cowboys to be comfortable for an eternity. All 8 seconds of it. Wrangler, the Western original.
Golfers just love punishment. That's all there is to it. If he plays around here, he's in every water hazard, every bunker. But should he hit the ball from the tee to the green on the 17th hole, that's the only shot he's going to ever remember. I can't explain it, but that's golf. The American Express card is welcomed at all these TPC golf clubs, and it does just as much for the bad golfer as it does for the good golfer.
American Express is welcomed at all kinds of golf courses. No wonder the card is green.
Finding a credit card you can expect more from is a simple process of elimination. First blow off all the cards with the highest rates. Then the ones that don't offer fixed or variable rate options, worldwide acceptance, and 24-hour customer service. And what about price assurance? Satisfaction guaranteed, purchase protection, and extended warranties at no extra charge. So, what's left? Chemical Bank MasterCard. If you have one, use it. If not, call 1-800-342-9900 to apply.
Today's game is brought to you in part by your Lincoln Mercury dealers. Right now on the field at Kyle Field, the University of Houston Cougar Marching Band.
Truett Aiken knows what it takes to be a winner, on and off the field. That's why he chose the University of Houston for a degree in chemical engineering.
Football team is one of the finest in the nation, a national powerhouse. And it's the same with engineering. It's the best in the Southwest and one of the best in the nation.
A degree from the University of Houston keeps you in the game.
There's a hot new game spreading across Texas. Texas Hot Cash from the Texas Lottery. Uh-oh. Anybody, the fire extinguisher over here. Match $3 amounts. And you can win up to $2,500. It's on the camera. Get the fire extinguisher. Texas Hot Cash. Cover up the camera. Quick, cover the camera. When we say hot, we mean it. Hot.
Why Farm Bureau Insurance?
Their rates are competitive and help me get great coverage for my money.
When you have a claim, Farm Bureau service is fair and fast. Our agent put together a plan to help save for their future.
Helping you is what we do best. That's why people across America, from every walk of life, depend on Farm Bureau Insurance.
Americans like you.
For auto, home, and life, call your local Farm Bureau today.
No matter what kind of car or truck you're looking for, forget the big city and head to Hempstead, to Lawrence Marshall.
where you'll find our low Marshall discount prices on a huge selection of 94 Dodge trucks and Jeeps. That's right, the #1 Chevy truck retailer in America sells tons of Dodge trucks and Jeeps too. And we have about 2,000 trucks available.
So head out 290 to Hempstead, to Lawrence Marshall. We clobber big city prices.
Houston Crackdown and your Houston area Kroger stores have teamed up to help reduce drugs in Houston. By purchasing one of the following national brand products, a portion of the sales will be donated to Houston Crackdown's ongoing war against drugs.
Ozarka 1-gallon spring drinking and distilled water, Fleischmann's Extra Light corn oil spread and stick margarines, Mott's 24-ounce original applesauce and 64-ounce apple juice.
So Houston, let's join Kroger, Houston Crackdown to help run drugs out of our city.
With the Aggies leading at halftime 17-0, it's time for our La Quinta Top 10 report. And we begin with this year's game of the century in Tallahassee, where they have moved to the fourth quarter and top-rated Florida State, trying to end years of frustration against number 3 Miami. Continues to lead that one 21-7. Number 2 Alabama takes the week off. Number 4 Notre Dame by 13 in the second quarter over Pittsburgh. Florida later at LSU. Ohio State leading by 14 at Illinois in the third. Nebraska on Thursday night defeated Oklahoma State in Stillwater 27-13. 8th-rated Penn State off. 9th-rated Michigan later at Michigan State. And number 10 Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl against Texas later on this afternoon. That's our La Quinta Top 10 report. A&M leads it. The Fightin' Aggie Band when we come back.
Deep in the heart of Texas, and adored by lovers of the Old West, is Fort Worth, a city that not only has its own stock market, but is also a major financial center, because it's one of the 1,900 communities served by Nations Bank, letting Justin Industries keep in step with the latest ideas in investment banking, giving families like the Trevinos a fresh start, and offering a range of resources that keeps people in Fort Worth from having to play second fiddle to anyone.
For 28 years, the National Association of Collegiate Directors of Athletics has been the professional and educational association for over 4,100 individuals at 1,500 institutions. The NACDA Foundation provides internships and annually awards close to $500,000 in postgraduate scholarships. Join us in celebrating the centennial of our profession. We're NACDA, the National Association of Collegiate Directors of Athletics.
17, your order's ready.
Number 6.
It seems as though the creators of value meals have forgotten that value isn't just how much you pay, but how much you get. Well, with Whataburger's new Whata Meals, you get Whataburger quality and value with the genuine Whataburger, Whata Chicken, beef or chicken fajita, or grilled chicken sandwich, each served with hot fries and a cold drink, making all other value meals seem of very little value. Whataburger Whata Meals at participating restaurants. Breakfast Whata Meals also available.
After graduation, I want to be governor of Texas.
Governor of Texas. Governor of Texas. Governor of Texas. Governor of Texas. Governor of Texas. Governor of Colorado. Well, 5 out of 6 isn't bad. At the schools of the Southwest Conference, higher education turns dreams into reality.
The Exxon Southwest Conference Supreme Team is the official 1993 All-Conference team selected by you, the fans. You can vote for your favorite players at any participating Exxon station through October 31st. Today's Supreme Team nominee is Aaron Glenn of Texas A&M. The senior defensive back helped shut down Texas Tech's All-America Lloyd Hill in the Aggies' big win last Saturday. He's a top candidate for the Jim Thorpe Award and also leads the nation in punt returns. For being our nominee of the week, Exxon will donate $1,000 on behalf of Aaron Glenn to the Southwest Conference Scholarship Fund. There are 15 defensive backs on the Supreme Team ballot, including the Aggies' Michael Hendricks, TCU's Greg Evans and Rice's Sean Washington, as well as Donald Douglas and John W. Brown of Houston. And now, the Fightin' Aggie Band.
At Texas A&M University, we're proud of our tradition of preparing Aggies for a lifetime of success.
Looking back, I feel that A&M as a whole taught me how to go into the community and help other people as well as be a leader on my job.
When you leave school, you have two things. You have your education, which relates directly to your job, and then you have personal skills, which allow you to deal with people.
I had an advantage coming out of Texas A&M. There's no doubt.
Preparing top students for the workforce. At Texas A&M, it's our greatest tradition.
Cowboys designed Wrangler cowboy cut jeans to be comfortable around the office, especially when your office is 40,000 acres. Wrangler, the Western original.
Always the finest. The finest U.S. choice beef. Aged for tenderness. And now the 1/8 inch trim, because we know you like it lean. That's WD brand U.S. choice beef. From Winn-Dixie, the beef people.
Think of all this as a large block of ice. Think of this as a chip off the old block. Coors Light's aged ice cold. So when you think of ice, think of the silver bullet. The only way to chill.
Way back in 1947, Cowboys designed Wrangler cowboy cut jeans to be comfortable in the saddle. Or out of it. Wrangler, the Western original.
Texas A&M with a dominant second quarter, scoring all 17 of their points, and they lead here at halftime 17-0. Very firmly in command. They were able to mix in the return of Greg Hill and not take anything away from Rodney Thomas in the first half.
Well, it's really a strong combination. You have two of the greater backs in Southwest Conference history, probably, with matching abilities. Rodney Thomas will run over you, and Greg Hill can run around you so quick it'll make your head swim. Both of them catch the ball well.
Our first half highlights brought to you by the Texas Lottery. This is Greg Hill setting up the first Aggie touchdown.
And you see Greg running with some power as well. He was so hyped up for this game. It's been 5 games since he played, and he really wanted to play well in this game.
Early second quarter, first score on the 3rd and goal pass to Ryan Matthews.
It's thrown low, but in that wide open territory, a good receiver can get out on the ball. It's not that important to hit him in the chest with it.
Second touchdown. This is Rodney Thomas on student body right.
Well, this is just vintage A&M offensive football. Bob Toledo loves to get people out in front of those great running backs and just let him waltz into the end zone.
Late in the first half, longest field goal of the year, 46 yards with the win by Terry Venetoulias.
You know, that may seem easy, but with all that wind swirling around you, the kicker really has to keep his concentration and hitting the ball square and keeping the slice or the hook out of it.
That made it 17-0. And we'll be ready for the start of the second half in Aggieland in a moment.
Because most of our flights are short, this is what our meals look like on Southwest Airlines. It's also what our fares look like. Southwest Airlines, it's just plain smart. Southwest Airlines has one of the best on-time records in the country.
Mr. Smith, you're early.
Just something to remember. Southwest Airlines, it's just plain smart.
At La Quinta Inns, our most frequent guests are traveling salesmen. So we asked a few how they'd sell La Quinta.
I want to give you the key to this room, because I know you're a smart guy. Sure, you could find a cheap hotel with rooms the size of a shoebox, or some luxury palace with the chandeliers in the bathrooms. How about a hotel that treats you as well as you treat your clients? And easy on the wallet. Take this key. You owe it to yourself.
La Quinta. You're not staying at a hotel. You're staying with us.
Why Farm Bureau Insurance?
Our agent helps us get the right coverage.
So we're always protected. When you have a claim, Farm Bureau works hard to help you get things back to normal.
They can help you with a plan to make your retirement years great years.
Helping you is what we do best. That's why people across America, from every walk of life, depend on Farm Bureau Insurance.
Americans like you.
For auto, home, and life, call your local farm.
No matter what kind of car or truck you're looking for, forget the big city. And head to Hempstead, to Lawrence Marshall, where you'll find our low Marshall discount prices on every 94 Chevy truck. We're the #1 Chevy truck retailer in America for 5 straight years. How'd we do it? By selling for less every day. And we have about 2,000 trucks available. So head out 290 to Hempstead, to Lawrence Marshall. We clobber big city prices.
The Game of the Week is brought to you by Exxon and its independent dealers and distributors who invite you to try Exxon 93 Supreme Gasoline. For high performance, rely on the Tiger. By your Texas Dodge dealers. By the Texas Lottery. By Southwest Airlines. And by Dr. Pepper. One of the happier Aggie fans in the stands today, Henry Cisneros, former mayor of San Antonio, currently Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and a Texas A&M graduate, a former commanding officer of the Aggie Band, in fact. Let's look at our Lincoln Mercury dealers' halftime stats. Not much on that left-hand column. Just 5 first downs, 40 rushing yards, 55 passing yards for the Cougars. And what really stands out is 3 for 11 through the air for Klingler. 2 of 7 picking up third downs, each team with a turnover on consecutive plays in the first quarter, and a lot of penalties, and a 7.5-minute time of possession advantage for A&M. Aggies kick still with the wind as the third quarter is underway. What a futile feeling it's got to be for Donald Moffitt, who hopefully stands back there as the deep man for Houston and sees kickoff after kickoff sail over his head. Klingler to go from the 20 as we pause briefly for station identification. This is the Raycom Network. Field in College Station, Dave Barnett and Grant Taft, first play of the second half. And for a loss, Lamar Smith dragged down at first, it looked like, by Adams, and then he broke that tackle and continued on, and finally Eric England came in to finish the job. We look back at the game plan for the Cougars.
Well, of course, they had to come into this game excited about the victory last week and build on it. I really haven't seen much of that. They've struggled a little bit in that first half. Lamar hasn't been able to carry the load, and the cage, that Lion and Cub didn't happen.
Well, the Cub, I guess they caged, but McElroy didn't play that much. Second down and 14. Klingler hit for another sack by Sam Adams. The conference leader in tackles for a loss, coming in with 7. He and England combine for the hit on Klingler.
This is the third big sack of this game for the defense of the Texas Aggies. You can see that Klingler evidently felt that his men were covered to the right-hand side. He's trying to get back to the left to throw the ball to uncovered people, but at that time he's met head-on by Sam Adams.
And he calls timeout with 13:42 in the third quarter. They will discuss a third down and 22 from their own 8.
Who are the best players in the Southwest Conference?
Vote your favorite players on to the Exxon Supreme Team. And for every ballot cast at Exxon will contribute 5 cents to the Southwest Conference Scholarship Fund. Vote for the Exxon Supreme Team. Exxon, rely on the Tiger.
It's where the Panthers have brought home 3 state titles, and where each May brings a new spring festival queen. Yet Abbeville, South Carolina is also a major financial center because it's served by Nations Bank, giving Canfield Dairy the same resources as any national corporation, providing the Thompsons on Turner Street the investments they'd find on Wall Street, and making sure folks don't have to take a back seat to anyone. In Abbeville and 1,900 other communities throughout our nation.
There are certain chores you would only ask a diesel to handle. That's about to change. Drivers of full-size pickups pretty much know what they're in for. That's about to change.
Well, bad enough to start down 17 from your own 20, and even worse to back up 12 yards on your first 2 snaps of the second half. After the timeout, the run and shoot 4 wide out look on 3rd and 22, and they give it to Smith, who will lose another yard or 2.
Play was designed to toss the ball underneath the on-charging defensive line. They decided not to come, played right on the line of scrimmage, just pitched the ball to him, pursued to it, and another loss.
George out of his own end zone again fights a losing battle with the north wind, and this will be his worst punt of all. Wow. When have you ever seen a team take over after a punt that was not returned at the other team's 13-yard line? This goes a total of 6 yards.
Wind has a strange effect on the round ball filled with air as it goes into the air. If you get any kind of a hook or slice, it's going to turn quickly, and that ball kicked to the outside so quick that they're now taking up residence on the 12-yard line in Cougar territory with no return.
Boy, A&M poised to perhaps deliver a knockout blow here as they get it for the first time in the half. On the Cougar 13, 1st and 10. Rodney Thomas hit. Pulled back by Ryan McCoy. He comes up big when they need him. That may lose a yard or 2.
We talked about an A&M game plan prior to kickoff, and one was to pressure the passer. I think they've done an excellent job in that area. They've utilized their backfield very effectively, particularly with Thomas and Hill. And then, of course, the tradition of winning here in this stadium is continuing at this point.
Thomas lost 1, 2nd and 11. McElroy in the game in motion. Thomas on the reverse gives to McElroy, who is dragged down by Nahala Johnson. And the Cougar defense responds.
Well-conceived play. They had McElroy in at the wing back, which coaches said they were going to get him in several positions. Now what he does is goes in motion like he's going to lead the play. Everything moves in this direction. The flow of the ball comes this way. He hands off, and with the save, the great play by the one defensive man, I believe he would have waltzed into the end zone, but that's what defense all about.
Johnson, the senior from Port Arthur, makes it 3rd and 21. The exotics for both teams have gone nowhere. Bullet to Gross. And the hit by Williams at the 11-yard line. So it'll bring up a field goal situation for the Aggies, and a tremendous job by the Houston defense.
Very good, and that recovery put them down in good position for the field goal. However, they are on the left side, and this may be a point where that hash mark moving in 2 yards approximately may help. because they're so close with that wind blowing, it could deter it either to the right or the left.
Well, this used to be a much bigger angle than it now is, and Venetoulias needs every bit of it. Just barely sneaks it inside the left upright. 10:58 in the third. A&M by 20.
The brand. In the West, it's the way a man marks what's his. We're the beef people, and our WD brand is on every steak we sell. It means our U.S. choice beef has been specially aged and trimmed to ensure more flavor, more tender, juicy beef. WD brand, the mark of quality from Winn-Dixie, the beef people.
Hey there, listen up. Education is money well spent, but refreshment is far more excellent. Don't fill me up with expectations. I got what I want, no imitations. School days! Ow! Just get on the what the doctor ordered. Just what the doctor ordered. Remember, we want it all. Just what the doctor ordered. The taste of baby water. We love it. I love it. Everybody's loving it.
There's a hot new game spreading across Texas. Texas Hot Cash from the Texas Lottery. Uh-oh.
Anybody, the fire extinguisher over here. Match $3 amounts. And you can win up to $2,500. It's on the camera. Get the fire department. Texas Hot Cash. Cover up the camera. Quick, cover the camera. When we say hot, we mean it. Hot.
It's 20-0, but it could be a lot worse. Don't forget to vote to win in the Coors Light Fan Picks Poll. 1-800-932-3000. And the Coors Light top 10 this week: Florida State, Alabama, Miami, Notre Dame, and Florida. Second 5, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, Nebraska, and Tennessee.
12th man on the kickoff, Muniz. If he makes the tackle, you'll hear the crowd roar.
No tackles to be made at all when Venetoulias is kicked with the win. Now look how close this thing was. The old hash mark farther out, this kick is no good.
I was asking R.C. yesterday if he felt that there'd been any advantage to moving the hash marks in. He really didn't feel that way. I don't think it's been an awful lot, but in a situation like this, when you're close to the goal line, those angles change an awful lot by 6 feet.
Arkansas, relatively close to Tennessee. Cougars on the draw play, Lamar Smith. Able to get outside, and he'll have a first down to the 31-yard line. Junior White on the tackle after a gain of 11.
Makes a lot of difference with your play selection when you're out on the 20-yard line starting rather than back on the 10. This looks more like what I thought Coach Helton and his staff would do. Come out, work on the good, solid offense, try to continue to make yardage, get yourself back in the game in the third quarter.
Smith held in check. Fourth leading rusher in the conference, leading receiver. Takes the pitch and loses to the 27, where he's hit by Reggie Graham, who has had an active day.
I tell you, Smith probably would just as soon Klingler kept the ball under those circumstances. It was a scramble play. He just turned and tossed it to what he believes is a better runner than himself, and that's
correctly so.
Smith.
Aggies have wondered about the level of play of their inside backers this year. Graham may be erasing some questions. He's had a big afternoon. Flags are down on 2nd and 14. And Smith, who led the conference and was 12th nationally coming in with 26 receptions, hit by Aaron Glenn out of bounds.
Flag thrown in that area, Dave, means we probably have someone offsides or a motion penalty by the offense. But we'll see what the official says.
Aggies offsides. 4 catches today for Smith. None for real big yards, and you saw the less than 4 yards per carry average on the ground for him. Slocum's defense very effective, bottling up the Cougars' weapons.
On the defense, 5-yard penalty, replay second down.
This time they'll need 9 instead of 14.
Wind has stayed about the same after halftime activities. They're going into a strong wind.
Short drop. Keith Jack finally makes a catch and breaks a tackle up near the 40. Michael Hendricks on the stop there. Jack, who had a key pass and run against Baylor. 4 catches, 109 yards for him a week ago.
I was very impressed with him last week, and I think this is a good move that shows athleticism. Watch him make a plant, duck underneath the tackler. Steve Solari coming out usually is another pure tackler, but give credit to Keith.
Jack, a junior college transfer last year, senior from Daly City, California. Carry by Smith. First down, Houston to their 47, driven out by Mickens.
It's by far the best offensive series put together by Houston. They're mixing it up very well, throwing the ball and then running Smith. I think that if they could stay with this and get themselves down into the wind and get a score, get the wind of their back in the fourth quarter, who knows what can happen. But this drive is essential to this Cougar team.
9:22 to go in the third. Another short toss. Sherman Smith tries to get away from the hit by Chris Colin. Back up to Jason Atkinson as an inside backer, and he's hit at the A&M 47 by Steve Solari.
That may be one of the longer runs I've seen for a yard gain. He was going east and west on that particular move that he made, but if he slides inside there and gets a block or two, then he could pick up some big yards.
He's probably the Cougar whose role has changed the most this year. Led the nation more than 100 catches last year, the 6th consecutive Cougar to lead the nation in catches, and he came in with just 10 this year.
Caught him on a draw.
Lots of room for Lamar Smith. 32 of A&M. Hit by Mickens after a pickup of 15, and they finally have him on track.
That's the only way to do anything with that blitz is run the draw directly at it, try to split the linebackers as they come. Exactly what they did. Great hole, and you put Smith in there, he's going to pick up some yards. This is a good drive.
Best they've looked this afternoon. Another 1st and 10 for the U of H. Klingler with the pump fake deep over the middle into double coverage, and a flag against the Aggies. It was intended for Ron Peters. Junior White and Ray Mickens had the double coverage.
The angle that the official looks at determines the two officials behind the play could not see. The official is supposed to look just as this one did. He looks from the inside out, and evidently Mickens got a hand across or an arm across, and that's where they call. You'll be able to see it right here. There he is, right on the arm.
15-yard penalty, first down.
I tell you, Dave, I've been very impressed with the officiating in the Southwest Conference this year. I think it's improved dramatically, and I think coaches are gaining confidence in it. Now, there are going to be plays when you're not satisfied or happy with it, but overall, it's been very good.
Yeah, very few controversies this year, unlike a year ago. Smith hunts for room and finds a little up to the 13, about 4 yards. In fact, the coaches who have played non-conference games, and both of these coaches come to mind, Helton against Michigan, some calls that he really disagreed with, and Slocum likewise against Oklahoma. When they come back and play within the league and they get pure SWC officiating, they say, boy, we'll never complain again.
Well, you know what's happened in the last 3 or 4 years nationwide is that teams are now using the crews within the area, geographical area, where their team is playing. So it would be a Big 8 officiated crew in the Big 8 area.
Klingler looks and is chased and dropped for a loss. Antonio Shorter.
A That was a big play by the defense down in the 4-down zone. What you end up here is you've got Klingler in a position to throw, but everyone's covered. Now he's trying to scramble out in good pursuit and nails him for a loss.
Fourth sack by A&M for a total of 19 yards.
Billy Mitchell is in as a nickel defensive back.
Number 22 in the maroon. Blitz comes. Toss Smith. He will lose back to the 23. Typhel McMullen, the backup safety on the stop.
Well, that was one of the poorly executed plays. Klingler's not used to running the option. You'll see him come out and just turn and pitch the ball. Had he kept the ball and forced number 6, Typhel, to take him, then something might have happened on the outside.
And after the tackle, Lamar Smith is slow getting up. The man who has provided 41% of Houston's total yards this year. Here's what happened to him.
Coach Helton did not want to see anything happen to this running back. He has used him rather sparingly in this game by using some substitutes, and he wants this young man to get up. It looks like it's a shoulder. When you get isolation out there on a single defensive back, sometimes you're swung down. Here's where he didn't carry the ball. You'll see Typhel being able to make the quarterback pitch and then make the tackle. You see him come down Lamar Smith on his right shoulder.
That is not good news for the Cougars. This will be a 40-yard field goal attempt by Trace Kraft, whose longest this year is 36, and this is into this huge breeze. He's got enough leg, and he is good.
Well, they didn't get to 7 points, but getting the 3 points is very important.
Houston finally on the board with 6:26 in the third.
If you're having trouble spotting the state bird of Texas, just look for an unusually large wingspan and very distinctive coloring. Southwest Airlines, it's just plain smart. Texas is such a big state that to really succeed in business, you'd have to give every business person a company plane. So that's what we did. Southwest Airlines. It's like having your own company plane.
Before you take another full-size pickup out for a spin, remember, not one of them offers four-wheel anti-lock brakes. That's about to change. It would appear truck designers have never enjoyed spending much time on the seats. And, it seems, neither have truck owners. That's about to change.
At La Quinta Inns, our most frequent guests are traveling salesmen. So we asked a few how they'd sell La Quinta.
Let me take you through the pros and cons of staying at La Quinta. Pro, free local phone calls. Pro, free continental breakfast for people on the go. Pro, modest rate. Con, La Quinta. It's hard to pronounce. Let's review. Pro, con. Need I say more?
La Quinta. You're not staying at a hotel. You're staying with us.
Well, Lamar Smith making his way to the Houston locker room, holding that left shoulder and elbow high. It looks like to compensate for the right shoulder.
Well, there are all sorts of guesses we could make, but we'll not do that. The only thing you know for sure is going to hurt the Houston offense.
McElroy on the return up to the 29-yard line. 14-yard return. They're working on Smith just outside the Cougar locker room. And they just now can get in there. You lock them up because you don't want anything stolen, and now they can finally get them into the trainer's room. Drive produces 3 points for Trace Kraft. 6:22 to go in the third quarter. Aggies leading by 17 after the 10-play, 58-yard march. First points against the Aggies at Kyle Field in 12 quarters since the first half of the TCU game last year. Thomas back into the backfield. Driven back at the 34, pickup of about 5. And as usual, Ryan McCoy somewhere in on the pile. Florida State has added a touchdown. And
Bobby Bowden's a happy man right now.
Looks like that streak of futility is going to end.
This is a real important drive for the Cougar defense. Their offense is taking the ball into the wind. Got points on the board, 20-3. 5:50 left in this quarter. Keep them out of the end zone in the third quarter. You got the win, fourth quarter.
Gross, the fullback, stacked up, might get a yard. Marlon Foots, the left end, McCoy and Dixon combining for the hit against Cliff Gross, 240-pound fullback.
The Houston defense last week really played well over their heads, and here you see a very fine play by the Houston defensive front with some assists from the linebackers, no gain.
Harrison, as big as they've got on that front. He's 6 feet. No one is taller, and he's 276. Very small up front for the Cougars. Swing pass. Thomas, he'll not have the first down. Thomas, an improved reception man out of the backfield, but he's hit at the 36, and it'll be 4th and 3.
Good series for the defense of the Cougars. Pump it up. Make something happen. You got to do it now. You've held the Aggies. Now get a good return. Get the offense on the field. Get more points. Run the clock out. Get the wind to your back. Real simple game plan, right?
Well, it sounds easy. Looks easy on paper. Usually isn't. This is a new return man, Sherman Smith. Normally it's Lawrence McPherson. There is, according to the Cougars, movement by the Aggies. If it's against Houston, it's first down A&M.
I'm really a little bit surprised at this late in the season that we're seeing that much movement on the line of scrimmage. Offenses have worked together.
Start. Offense.
Offenses have worked together so that there shouldn't be a lot of that at this time, and we've seen a lot today.
We've seen a whole bunch today. James Bennett, walk-on from Austin, a junior. They were really worried about this position. He's improved as the year went on. They lost the best punter in the conference last year at graduation, David Davis. And when your biggest concern coming in is punter, you know you're loaded. Cougars go for the block. Smith will return from his 18. Houston will go from their 31. The kick traveled 48. The return can. He's hit by Reggie Gray. Next week, we'll stay with the Aggies on the road against the Baylor Bears at Floyd Casey Stadium in Waco. 12 noon Central Time. Check your local listings on next week's Exxon Southwest Conference Game of the Week. Baylor in Dallas to take on SMU this afternoon. And after their loss in the Astrodome last week, it's all must games for the Bears.
Nickel defense, Billy Mitchell's in.
Good protection now, Klingler is chased. Finally, coming open, inbounds for the catch is Peters at the 47-yard line.
Very important first down. Going into the win, if you can pick up a first down around midfield, get another one. Now you're getting close to the 4-down zone. You got a chance to run the clock out into the win. And, you know, the Cougars still have a chance in this, but they've got to move the ball down and score on this drive.
And they've got to do it without Lamar Smith, with DeAndre Sanders now in at the tailback. He's the target. Breaks the tackle. Very powerful senior from Corpus Christi reaches midfield.
DeAndre has excellent hands, Dave. He was one of the better receivers last year. He's an outstanding athlete. Coach Helton is very impressed with his leadership this year and what he's contributed to the team, sort of in a minor role compared to what he's done in the past.
He came in with just 7 carries on the year for 34 yards. Almost every time they hand it off, it has been to Smith this year. Now Moffitt checks in at the tailback, where they began to experiment with him last week. That's the call, straight up the middle. Dragged back by a pack of Aggies at the 49 of A&M to bring up a third and about 6.
I've been very impressed with Graham this whole ball game. Gets stopped, excellent block by a Cougar, but he comes off the block and still is able to get in on the play.
Larry Jackson normally is at that inside backer spot. He was questionable this week because of an ankle, which he re-injured at Texas Tech last week. They're in a big day. Batted down, and a flag is down late.
Kiefer Chatham from Waco, Texas, batted that ball down. He's substituting in for Sam Adams at this point, trying to give Sam a little breather for fourth quarter. Good move for Kiefer.
The intended receiver, Joey Mouton, on the slant end. It was batted down, it hit the turf, and then the flag came. And from the reaction of the Aggies, it's against Houston.
Disregard the flag. The ball had been tipped. There is no interference. Fourth down.
There's a good shot of Kiefer Chatham getting up right on the line of scrimmage, using his big hand to bat the ball down.
What they would have called if Chatham hadn't gotten the deflection was interference when Glenn got hooked up with Joey Mouton. But a moot point. Glenn will return this one. Pretty good by George to pick that one up off the AstroTurf. Glenn, fair catch at the 13. And the nation's leading punt returner hasn't done much damage today. 35-yard kick by Terry George. In fact, Texas A&M, because of Aaron Glenn's great year, leading the nation at nearly 20 yards per punt return on the season. Glenn against Missouri set an A&M record with 131 return yards. That included a 76-yard touchdown.
We may see him make a big play in the fourth quarter when the ball will be kicked further. Short kicks are hard to handle.
Greg Hill. First down to the 27-yard line. The safeties, Douglas and Williams, after a 15-yard ramble by Greg Hill.
Very good block by Ryan Matthews on the outside perimeter. Stays with his man. Hill makes a normal Hill cut, cuts up in, keeps driving those old powerful legs, and picks up the first down.
6.6 per carry in his first game of 93. Tough pass is incomplete. Intended for Matthews. Coverage by Delmonico Montgomery, and the Aggies wanted interference, but it looked like he just timed it perfectly.
Excellent defense. Again, he's breaking on the ball, has every right to the ball. Did not get his hand or arm on the offensive player. That's defense.
So second and 10. 2:02 to go in the fourth. 20-3 A&M. Both teams 1-0 in conference play coming in. The Aggies 3-1 for the year. And up near the 30 is Greg Hill, hit by DeLithro Bell. Bring up third down.
Penetration by the Cougar defensive line then caused Hill to tangle up his feet a little bit and allowed DeLithro Bell to get there.
All year long, one of the concerns for Houston has been the length of time that their defense has spent on the field. That's been a big problem today again. Big edge in time of possession for A&M. On the blitz, down goes Pullig at the 22, where John W. Brown, JB1, raced in from his blind side.
Safety blitz coming from the backside. Those things are very, very difficult to block against. You've got one man blocking on that side. He has to pick up the outside rusher. Then outside of that man will be the defensive back coming in for the sack.
You know, it's amazing that blindside hit doesn't produce a fumble every time. Fuller doing a good job tucking it in. Smith with a hard time getting the handle. And an even harder time finding any room. Allison for a net loss of 7 after a 57-yard punt.
That's the kind of punt we'll see in the fourth quarter where Aaron Glenn has a chance to return. You outkick your coverage.
It is over in Tallahassee. Not just the game, but the frustration by the Seminoles. And it's underway in Dallas, where Baylor leads 7-0 at Omni Stadium. Boy, and what is going through Bobby Bowden's mind? It's just hard to imagine how good that wind's got to feel.
Elation.
DeAndre Sanders up near the 18-yard line. Probably one more snap in the third quarter, and then Houston will have the wind in the fourth.
Coming from a backed-up position, they need to let that clock run out so that if they do have to punt, they'll have the wind at their back.
Still no word, by the way, from the Houston locker room on the condition of Lamar Smith. All we know is he's still not emerged. Sanders remains the back. Fumbled snap. Looks like Klingler falls on it.
Houston's had some problems with that, Dave. The last couple of weeks, got a guard playing center, and he has snapped it a little bit low and a little high sometimes.
And he's a true freshman, Marcus DeDream. That is the end of the third quarter. With our score in Aggieland, Texas A&M 20 and the Houston Cougars
3. Imagine the high performance, the advanced engine cleaning in all 3 grades of Exxon gasoline. Rely on Exxon gasoline and turn the tiger loose.
People, man, are they different. In Germany, they don't like what they like in France. And in England, they don't like what they like in Germany. In Spain, they run in front of bowls. In Greece, they smash plates. Italians speak the same language 40 different ways. And the French love Jerry Lewis. Nobody likes the same thing. So how come so many people love Volkswagen? Germany, France, England, Sweden, Japan, Finland. The new Golf is the best-selling car in the world. The new Jetta? The first German road car people can afford. Do these people know something that we don't? Well, I'm no expert, but it seems to me, people who want quality, safety, people who want excitement, find it in the new Volkswagens. Hey, maybe people aren't that different after all. The new Volkswagens, the most loved cars in the world.
No matter how much you prepare, life is full of surprises. That's why people who are ready for anything count on AAA. 24 hours a day, anywhere. With AAA, help is just a phone call away. We'll unlock your door, change your flat, start your car, deliver gas, tow you, and much more. All for one low yearly membership fee. Sooner or later, you'll break down and join AAA. Why not join today? Call 284-6500.
The number 14 team in the country looking very solid so far, up 20-3. And 2 other problems for Houston. They've been held to 143 total yards, even with Lamar Smith for most of the game. And he's out, and we still don't know what his injury is.
The third quarter was by far the best quarter for the Cougars. They did some things that they had to do to put themselves in a position to win.
Still down 17 and backed up in their own end. It is knocked away, intended for Keith Jack by Billy Mitchell, who returned from his 3-game suspension last week in Lubbock. Came up with his first career sack in that game and the deflection to end this Houston drive. And now we get to see Aaron Glenn maybe get a chance to go to work. Terry George will kick from near his goal line. Glenn is averaging 22.8 per return on 9 kick opportunities this year. George hangs up a beauty. And the Cougars bottle Aaron Glenn up at the 38-yard line. Dave Barnett, Grant Taft on Raycom and Prime Network from Kyle Field and College Station. 60,000 plus at the home of the 12th man. And we've seen pretty much what we expected to see. The A&M defense, which with the one exception of the Oklahoma game, has been very solid all year long. A couple of shutouts over LSU and Missouri. Shut down one of the top 10 offenses in the country last week at Texas Tech, and they've held Houston to 3 so far. Greg Hill on the carry at right tackle pushes forward to the 41.
Houston defense, though they don't have a lot of depth, it really has held up pretty good throughout this entire ball game. They're pursuing the football. They're still running hard, led by Ryan McCoy.
Greg Hill in his return today, 12 carries and 71 yards. Thomas, 16 carries, 59 yards. Play action this time. Good play fake by Pullig. Catch is made by Short, the tight end, hit by Jerome Williams. Bring up third and short.
Jerome Williams played that perfectly. He laid back, let the ball be thrown, then makes a stop for the lack of a first down.
When we talk about that Oklahoma game for A&M, they gave up 44 points, but 14 of them in the late moments after it had been decided, and R.C. Slocum regrets that he gave the Sooners a chance to run up that score now. That is picked off, and look out! Delmonico Montgomery brings this one back all the way, and Houston cuts it to 20-9. A 52-yard interception return by Montgomery.
Third quarter looming very large for the Cougars. Didn't make a lot of mistakes. Had one that cost them 3 points. Maintained possession of the ball well. Kept the Aggies out of the end zone. Now got a break, and they're back in the race with the wind to their back.
A redshirt freshman from Gladewater, Texas, makes the biggest play of his young career. He just read Pullig. He saw Pullig zero in. He timed it perfectly, and it's 20-10. What a difference this one play makes for Delmonico Montgomery.
Pullig looks all the way. Never took his eye off of his receiver. Defensive back was just in perfect position. Pullig's the only guy that can make the play to stop the interception, and he didn't make it.
So, what a different outlook now for the Cougars. They've cut it to 10, and they've got a long way to go.
There are certain chores you would only ask a diesel to handle. That's about to change. Drivers of full-size pickups pretty much know what they're in for. That's about to change.
It's where the careers of naval officers are launched, and where pleasure boaters come to cast away from it all. But Annapolis, Maryland is also a major financial center because it's served by Nations Bank, which enables coastal properties to call on a depth of experience in financing, offers the overstreets everything from equity loans to mutual funds, and gives people a bank that puts greater financial power at their command. In Annapolis and in 1,900 other communities throughout our nation.
Don't mind football if I'm not playing. Don't mind a tackle, ain't my bones paying. Don't fill me up with expectations. I got what I want, no invitations. Just give me what the doctor ordered. Just what the doctor ordered. Just give me a Dr. Pepper. We want it there. Oh, just what the doctor ordered. The teacher said water. We love it.
Delmonico Montgomery's 52-yard interception return makes it 20-10 Texas A&M. Houston missing Lamar Smith out with a shoulder injury, still unspecified. A&M total yardage is not spectacular. They've been very solid today, 241 yards, 71 of them by Greg Hill on the ground, but it's a completely different feeling now in Kyle Field.
Dave, this defense of the Cougars, it's easy to sort of overlook what they're doing today, but in truth, they're hanging in there very well. They're making plays. They're not letting Texas A&M run up and down the field. I think they're playing about as well as they played last week.
Yeah, that's a much lower total yardage reading than you would feel like it should be. A&M is getting firm command of this game. McElroy's return is a good one. And he almost brings this back all the way. 42 yards for Leland McElroy, the Aggies set up in Houston territory.
That is a very big play at this stage of the game. Just had an interception. Now they've got to come out of their own end zone, wind in their face, and they get a 50-yard kickoff return, and they're set up for great field position.
And the guy who missed the tackle was, guess who? Delmonico Montgomery. McElroy, whose offensive contributions have been limited today. The return of Hill makes a big one on special teams, and Rodney Thomas sees big yardage on the sweep. On 7 up to the 39. Clearing block by Calvin Collins and Cliff Gross.
Sweep's been Texas A&M's number one play. They're averaging about 7 yards per snap on that play. But it has historically been one of their better plays.
Well, we've said that this series has a tradition of closer than expected games. This one wasn't supposed to be close at all. This was about a 3-touchdown margin by the prognosticators in favor of A&M, and it's a 10-point game early in the fourth quarter. Look at that pile move forward up to the 30.
5 yards after he's hit by about 7 defenders.
And as you said, just what A&M needed after the shockwaves of the interception return. 1st and 10 from the Houston 30 after Rodney Thomas's strong run. Another pitch. Thomas for about 4 or 5. And he's got fresh legs here in the fourth quarter.
Number 54, Calvin Collins, predicted to be one of the better league's linemen in the next few years. Does a great job coming off the football, maintaining good foot position, and actually pancaking the defensive lineman.
He replaced a good one in John Ellisor, but they think he may eventually have NFL potential. 7-minute advantage in time of possession for A&M, wearing down the Cougar defense. Wide open, Cliff Gross. 1st and goal. And they'll tack on what would appear to be a face masking against the Cougars. Gross reached the 8 on his own, and it looked like either McCoy or Douglas grabbed his face mask. Early lead for Michigan State in that one.
Simple little bootleg coming out off a play fake. Gross, the fullback, slips out into the flat. And you have a 5-yard penalty on the end of it, face mask. And this is exactly what Texas A&M needed after the touchdown of the Cougars to cover that up with 7 points going into the win. Then they maintain or regain control of the game.
Yeah, if they punch it in here, that Houston momentum lasted all of about 2 minutes. 1st and goal, 11:15 to go in the game. Thomas to the 2. First Cougar to make contact, McCoy, the middle linebacker. Then some help, and some help comes in from the bench. 4 fresh defenders.
Last week against Baylor, the Cougars held 2 times inside the 5-yard line, keeping Baylor from scoring 2 times on 4th and goal. And we'll see now what they can do against this Aggie offense inside the 3-yard line.
Baylor another time had it in short yardage, and Houston allowed just the field goal. The only points all day that it did. Well, the defense, they feel, really grew up last week. Leaped with flags down, and Thomas has the same problem that the Baylor backs had last week. He leaps too far away from the goal.
What causes that is the defensive linemen are able to get underneath the pads of the offensive linemen, causing congestion. He has to jump too quickly.
Now, we saw 4 defenders come in from the bench for Houston. Apparently only 3 went out because the call is too many men on the field.
Well, that's a good defense. You get 12 down on the goal line, I'm telling you, baby, you can hold a lot of people out of there.
Each team 8 penalties. What looked like a good stop by the Cougars turns into 2nd and goal from their 1.
Sad part about that is probably the 12th man really had nothing to do with their holding him on the 1-yard line.
Full house backfield. Thomas, touchdown. His 2nd today. Didn't wear red and white very long at all, did it? A&M right back in control, 26-10 with the extra point by Venetoulias. And they lead again by 17.
The offensive set for the Aggies there has 2 fullbacks in the backfield. One to the right, one to the left. Thomas at the tailback. So you got a good lead blocker on either side. 44, Detron Smith, the other fullback.
Rodney Thomas with his 10th touchdown of his junior year.
Wouldn't it be great if you were stranded on a desert island with a beautiful woman named Betty? Cool. And while scouting the island, you were suddenly surrounded. You! But then they noticed your shoes. You! Great one! Booga, booga! So they gave you gifts. Keystone, Keystone Light, and Keystone specially lined for really smooth. Bottle beer taste in 10! Sweet and Wouldn't that be great?
Why Farm Bureau Insurance?
Their rates are competitive and help me get great coverage for my money.
When you have a claim, Farm Bureau service is fair and fast.
Our agent put together a plan to help save for their future.
Helping you is what we do best. That's why people across America, from every walk of life, depend on Farm Bureau Insurance.
Americans like you.
For auto, home, and life, call your local Farm Bureau today.
The cowboy's business is a business of silence. 100 miles of fence gives a person time to think, to wonder about who he is, what the world is coming to. Talk to a cowboy long enough and you'll get an opinion on everything. That's because he's had time to think about everything. Yeah, at Wrangler, we know cowboys. Our genes were invented by them. That's why the West is in us. Wrangler, the Western original.
Leland McElroy's kick return sets up A&M for the scoring drive after Houston had very briefly cut the lead to 20-10. 60,575 watching it in Kyle Field today.
James Muniz, number 12, representing all of the 12th men, past, present, and future on this kickoff. I'm anxious to see if he'll get a tackle because I want to hear this crowd erupt.
He doesn't, it won't be for lack of trying. Might be for lack of opportunity. Venetoulias' kick out of bounds. And there's Muniz.
New rules cause kick out of bounds to really be a costly item. The offense will take the football at the 35-yard line, and that gives you great field position. You can't get that much on most returns against this kickoff team of the Aggies.
Oklahoma, first blood in the Cotton Bowl. Michigan State adds a field goal. They lead 10-0. And the Aggies will kick it again. The NFL went to that in trying to speed up the game a few years ago. Every out-of-bounds kick taken at the 35. There's a lot of ways the college game could speed up, and that's just one of them.
Yep.
Well, you got some pull. How long will it take to get some of those speed-up rules?
Well, I'm not on the Rules Committee anymore. I spent 6 years on the NCAA Rules Committee, and we put in a few rules that speeded it up, I think.
And Venetoulia sends this one inbound. Montgomery from the 20. And he's down at the 30. 10:07 to play. Larry Walker's had a big day, special teams.
12th man driving hard down the field. Wants to get in on that play. Whoops. Sorry, you can't come through here, Mr. Bailey says.
Now, the days of Jackie Sherrill, he used to have an entire team of 12 men. R.C. Slocum didn't quite have the stomach to continue that entire tradition, but he kept a little piece of it by having one 12th man at all times on the kick return unit, or coverage unit. Klingler stumbles as he gets it to Sanders. Sanders bouncing off his own man, and then picks up about 5 or 6 before he's driven out by Jason Atkinson.
It's good running. Just keep your feet driving and see what happens.
Ran right up the legs of Charles Spencer, number 23. But continued on and turned it into a gain of 7. Just 8 for 18. That used to be a bad quarter for Jimmy Klingler. 87 yards. That's his entire day's output. If that's ruled inbounds, that's a terrific catch. It is out of bounds on the coverage by Mickens against Ron Peters, but it looked like Peters held on to the ball.
He made the catch, but it was clearly out of bounds. Klingler throws this ball very well.
Just by inches. That A&M defense, tough to penetrate. They have not allowed a touchdown in 11 straight quarters. The only touchdown today on the interception return from Houston by Montgomery. Big third down. Overthrown, again intended for Ron Peters. And the Aggies hold, but they hold because Klingler misfires a couple of times on what appear to be open patterns.
Klingler's releasing the ball, and it's flying on him. I don't know if the wind is strong enough behind him to do that. It will do it sometimes. You release the ball, and that wind will get underneath and pick the ball up. Looks like that's what's happening.
Look at that, 34-yard average, even with a 67-yard punt for Terry Jewell. This one, with the wind, takes little advantage of it. It's off the side of his foot. And his inconsistency continues, just 26 yards. And out of bounds at the 37 of Texas A&M, which leads the Houston Cougars by 17.
Who are the best players in the Southwest Conference? Vote your favorite players on to the Exxon Supreme Team. And for every ballot cast at Exxon, Exxon will contribute 5 cents to the Southwest Conference Scholarship Fund. Vote for the Exxon Supreme Team. Exxon, rely on the Tiger.
Because most of our flights are short, this is what our meals look like on Southwest Airlines. It's also what our fares look like. Southwest Airlines, it's just plain smart. Southwest Airlines has one of the best on-time records in the country.
Mr. Smith, you're early.
Just something to remember. Southwest Airlines, it's just plain smart.
We'll go for main engine start. 7, 6. We have main engine start. 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
It's flight time at Rice Stadium, home of the 1993 Rice Owls. Don't miss the fun. Join this year's version of the Winged Warriors. 1993 Rice Football Trading Card Day, sponsored by Taco Cabana and the Houston Post. Call 629-3700.
Well, I think I'm familiar with most of the A&M traditions. That is a new one on me, if that is indeed a tradition.
I wouldn't make a guess on that myself. I'd leave that alone.
Yeah, probably a good decision on your part. McElroy with flags down, cuts it in back, and breaks tackles and reaches the Houston 48, where he's hit by Donald Douglas. 14 yards should the play stand for Leland McElroy in the same backfield now with Detron Smith.
Likelihood of holding is high.
Once again, you are correct, sir. Aggies back down from their 37-yard line.
I happen to know where those flags fall. You can pretty well determine what the call was.
From hard-earned experience,
Absolutely.
Holding on the offense, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul.
That'll mark it back at their 23-yard line. And they need their 47 for the first down.
Cougars at this stage have to have some help from the Aggies. Got to have another turnover, mistake, bad play, penalty, something. Right now the Aggies are back in control.
On the ground on 1st and 23, McElroy gets outside, knocked out by Douglas, but that's a pretty good start.
Boy, does he add a dimension to that offense.
Little used today. He might be the bell cow back on most college backfields. Let's pause briefly for station identification. This is the Raycom Network. Dave Barnett, Grant Taft at Kyle Field with 9:11 to play in the game. Texas A&M number 14 in the nation coming in on top 27-10. Flags everywhere prior to the snap. And Collins moved first, it looked like.
Well, that's kind of help that Cougars have to have.
Start, offense.
Leland McElroy came in 122 all-purpose yards per game. A freshman who will be for another year behind Rodney Thomas, behind Greg Hill. There's a lot of backs who wouldn't want to go into a situation like that. But R.C. Slocum says the same thing